Wide open Torrence. Oh, baby, touchdown. How do you leave the best receiver in the NAIA that wide open?
You show, and that's what we do. Cash.
You're proud of me?
And it's caught! Oh my goodness! Troy Torrence comes down with it!
Welcome all to Bankroll Blitz, Week 2, right here on Pub Sports Radio. My name is Jimmy the Bag, and as always, I am beside my friend and colleague, Mr. Troy Torrence. Troy, we had very similar weeks. They were very successful. Combined, we went 29-18 plus 8.61 units, which gets me out of the issues that my preseason caused me, where I went 10-11 down 2 units. My first losing preseason since I've started capping preseason NFL, which was disappointing, but it's fixed because we were successful in week 1. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to get back to work. It's time to follow it up. 1 week ain't enough. Let's get on to week 2, brother.
Yes, let's get on to week 2. Thank you all for joining us. We got TJ in the house. Jeff, thank you for the very kind words. We are excited and thankful to cap with you guys. And let's talk quickly and briefly about the week that was. 22 bets for me, the most I've ever had in a week 1 in my entire career. And I went 14-8 plus 4.56 units. I cashed with the Chargers plus 3.5. Cashed with Cincinnati, Cleveland under 47.5. Cashed with the Colts. Lost with Las Vegas, New England over 43. My only over on the board. Cashed with the Arizona double result. Lost badly on Pittsburgh, New York Jets first half under and full game under. Lost badly on the Giants plus 6. But cashed with the Giants, Washington under 46. Cashed with Minnesota, Chicago first half under 21.5. Lost Minnesota, Chicago full game under 44.5. Cashed with Tampa Bay, Atlanta under 47.5. Cashed San Francisco, Seattle first half under 21.5. Cashed San Francisco, Seattle full game under 44. Cashed very easily Houston, LA Rams under 44. Cashed the Rams minus 2.5. Lost the Baltimore Ravens. Lost Baltimore, Buffalo, first half under 25.5 badly. Cashed with the Minnesota Vikings. Lost with Dak Prescott interception. The only over I bet I lost. The only player prop I lost. Cashed with the Browns plus 5 and cashed with the Jets plus 3. That was the week that was for me. We have Nutflush Allen, Old E, T-Moss, Vincent Hawkins. Great to see all you guys. They Hate Will joining us. Great to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining us. Troy Torrence, tell us, review the week that was.
I mean, we had very similar weeks, like you said. I'm basically going to run through the same plays. The one thing that stands out, I didn't want to review this action just because I get so frustrated. I talked all week about taking unders in week 1. Unders cash out in week 1, and somehow I end up losing money on the totals I bet. I lost 1.35 units. And that's a tough pill to swallow. Then you think about what happened with the Ravens game and what happened to the lead off the season with the Eagles and the Cowboys. I had the over 47.5, the only over I bet, and I thought I should have gotten there. But I did have a good week. Sometimes the blemishes just strain on you way heavier. I had the Chargers plus 3.5. I split a bet on that. Jets versus Steelers under 38.5. That was the worst bet of the week. Clear blowout from the very first snap. A surprising high score, right? 34-32. That's incredible. Can't wait to talk about that today. I had a 3-team teaser that I added on NFL Pub Hub on Sunday. Jets plus 13, Colts plus 8.5, Pats plus 7.5. I've doubled up on the Colts money line and -1. I doubled up on the Giants, which was another bet that was a clear loser. Russell Wilson did not look comfortable. The Browns plus 6 was a gimme. They should have won the game outright. Harold Fannin Jr. over 19.5. I only bet this for 1 unit. This was a player prop that I was eyeing up as soon as I started looking at the Browns in the offseason. The Patriots -2.5. That was the wrong side. They got outplayed by the Raiders pretty much every facet. Cardinals, double result. That was beautiful. I had the teaser with the Cardinals and the Jets plus 8.5. That was a sweaty bet towards the end of the game when you had the Saints in the red zone about to tie the game. They did that last year a few times too. They're a sneaky team. Falcons, Bucks under 47. Got lucky with the missed field goal. That was a beautiful thing. 49ers, Seahawks under 43, cash that one. Ravens first half money line, cash it. 2 losses with the Ravens on this full game money line and full game spread. I had the first half under 26 in the Ravens game. That was a losing bet. The Bears Vikings first half under, cashed. Bears versus Vikings full game under, lost. But because that bet lost, it allowed the Vikings to come back, get the win. JJ McCarthy, I had finished off with 2 props. I thought I was going to hit both. Fortunately, Rome Odunze did not go over 46.5, but JJ McCarthy went under 220.5 passing yards. I closed with like 8 points, 8 yards of value in that bet. So I'm actually going to be looking towards the prop market a little bit more here moving forward.
I love it. Great job. Great to see AM. Great to see all of you guys here joining us. Let's get to work. Old East has just got the invite. I'll be in Houston on Monday for the Bucks game. Says, if I never see y'all again, you know I was killed by the Houston mob while yelling, fire the cannons. Our friend, Old E, in the house. Troy Torrence, I can't wait to get to work. Let's do that right now. And thank you guys so much for joining us. There's D. Jenkins, ready to rock. We start with the Thursday nighter. September 11th. 8:15 p.m. Eastern. We have the Washington Commanders, 1-0 on the season, their first road game of the year. The Green Bay Packers, who are 1-0 at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, is 62 Fahrenheit, sunny, 3 miles per hour. I wanted the Green Bay Packers. I think that the consecutive home games, I'm not high on the Commanders. I think they beat up on a really weak football team. But I am not going to say that I am no more or I am better than the market. I'm not going to. This line is not moving in a direction where I could comfortably bet it. So I'm not going to at this point. This opened up. Now, if we go look ahead lines, this opened up at 2.5. Once Sunday night came along, this was a 3.5. This 3.5 opened up at -106. It moved in exactly the area I wanted. It moved up to -3.5 and -115 within 30 minutes. Within 5 minutes of that, it moved to 4. Not only did it move to a 4, but the 4 was juiced. You could have got Washington +4 at -103. That set me up perfectly for a Packers double result. That was the plan. It was offered to me at +125. It was a great price point. And then all I've done is watch this line move towards the Commanders. Now we're sitting here with Green Bay -3.5 at +102. And I'm not going to get in the way of it, unfortunately, at this point. I just am not going to do it. This total is a 48. It's -109 to the over. This opened up at 48.5. It dropped down to 47.5 quite quickly. Now it's at 48. The 47.5 was available for 12 hours or more. Then it went to 48. That's the situation. When you take a look at the cash flow here for our Thursday nighter, we have 63% of the tickets and 70% of the cash on Green Bay. Well, that makes sense to me. You'll see that amount of money on other teams where the line is moving in their direction, and it's extremely appealing. This tells me that I don't know exactly what the hell is going on here. That's what it's telling me. AM is on the Commanders +4 at -110. Rance is on the under 48 here. There's AEOD in the house. Jared TG ready to get to work. 62 Fahrenheit, sunny, 3 miles per hour at Lambeau Field. The Commanders coming off a 21-6 home victory over the New York Giants. Jaden Daniels was 19 of 30 for 233 yards. He also ran 11 times for 68 yards. Deebo Samuel, he led the receivers with 7 catches for 77 yards. He's happy. He has a lot to prove. That was his first game in the Commander uniform. He also ran once for a 19-yard touchdown. With Brian Robertson Jr. now RB2 in San Francisco, 7th-round pick Bill Krosky-Merritt was RB1, and he looked really good. He ran 10 times for 82 yards and a touchdown. Austin Eckler, of course, is dealing with a shoulder injury. He ran 6 times for 26 yards, caught 3 passes for 31 yards. He's listed as questionable this week. Can Bill Krosky-Merritt be an RB1? We saw him do it once. Is this something that he's going to be able to do week in and week out? The offense went 3 of 4 in the red zone. The pass rush got 2 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. The Commanders' red zone defense held New York to 3 points total on 2 trips inside the 5-yard line. is the defense strong or is the Giants offense terrible? The last time we saw this defense was in the NFC final when the Eagles put up 55 points on them. How different are they now? Here, they held the Giants to only 231 yards of offense. They were very effective stopping the run. The Giants gained just 74 yards on the ground, 44 of which came from Russell Wilson. 74 yards on 23 attempts. This Commander defense was 30th against the run last year. Do we believe that it's going to be so much better this year? Or do we believe that the Giants' running game is weak? Their offensive line, Thomas not there again, is weak. This is the most important question in this game is, do we believe what we saw from the Commanders? And I would say no, but if the market's going to go in their direction, I'm not going to get in the way of it. 35-year-old Bobby Wagner played 99% of snaps last year. He was a force again versus the Giants. 10 tackles. Sam Cosme missed the game with a knee injury. The guard, he's unlikely to be available this week. They did trade for Laramie Tunsil. They used their first-round pick on Oregon's Josh Connerly Jr. to fortify the offensive line. They did a good job of shutting down the Giants' vaunted pass rush, especially in the second half when the Giants didn't have a sack. The 3 sacks the Giants had were in the first half. Can they do that to the Packers' very dangerous pass rush? Packers coming off a dominant 27-13 home victory over the Detroit Lions. How public is this bet going to become? How public? Opening a season at home for the first time since 2018, beat the 2-time defending NFC North champions after going 1-5 in divisional games last year. We talked all about it. The Lions had won at Lambeau Field each of the last 3 seasons. Packers won their 13th consecutive home opener, longest such streak since the Miami Dolphins won 13 straight from 1976 to 1988. After getting outscored 99-40 in the first half of NFC North games last year, the Packers got points in their opening 3 possessions, took a 17-3 lead that they wouldn't relinquish. Jordan Love was 16-22 for 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. We know wide receiver Christian Watson recovering from a torn ACL, hoping to be back in November. The Packers were thankful to have Jaden Reed in the lineup. We weren't sure if he was going to be there. He's been dealing with a stress fracture in his foot. He caught 3 for 45 in a touchdown. He's listed as questionable this week, but is expected to play. Romeo Doubs led receivers with 2 catches for 68 yards, and Josh Jacobs ran 19 times for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. The offensive line didn't allow a sack. They didn't allow a sack to the Detroit Lions.
Jimmy, they didn't allow a pressure. They didn't allow a pressure to the Detroit Lions.
The Lions scored 33.2 points per game last season and didn't get into the end zone until the final minute against the tough Green Bay defense. Micah Parsons' first game as a Packer pass rush was formidable. Parsons had a sack. Rashawn Gary had one. Devontae Wyatt, 1.5. Devontae Wyatt had one. And Lucas Ben Ness had a half sack. The Packers got 9 hits on Jared Goff. The red zone defense looks excellent. They looked excellent. They held the Lions to just 1-4. That lone TD came in garbage time. Evan Williams had an interception. Nate Hobbs, who had been listed as questionable, did not play. Cornerback Nate Hobbs did not play after undergoing knee surgery during training camp. They hope he's back here for week 2. Cornerback Bo Melton, shoulder. Defensive lineman Brenton Cox, groin. Offensive tackle Zach Tom with a hip injury. And guard Aaron Banks left in the second half with an ankle injury. They're all listed as questionable this week. Here we go, Troy. Our Thursday nighter. Commanders, Packers at Lambeau. Take it away.
Jesus, when I really listen to Jimmy capping that game and just talking about it from a philosophical standpoint, I'm just thinking to myself, all these different notes, you're just like, you're making my pitch now way longer and way more extravagant because there's so much to cover in this game. That's how every single game is on the board. But this one's particularly interesting to me because there's 2 things that I went into the season talking about. Well, actually one thing between these 2 teams, the Commanders being overrated, regressions in their future. And as we were in our futures episode talking about the Packers, I started to realize when we were talking about that 9.5 juice to the over, pretty much the line that stuck out to me the most was the Packers team total over because the bookies clearly had respect for them. At least in my opinion. So immediately I started looking them into a different light. And I started to remember my old handicaps on Jordan Love and my belief in this kid. And when I look at this offense, I look at the metrics of, what LaFleur is running. And I'm just like, this fits Jordan Love's, skill set so well. The play action, he had the most attempts out of play action in week 1. Didn't lead in yards. And that's because a guy from the Colts absolutely balled in play action. But the most attempts, and he likes to very polarized. He wants to throw it deep. He wants to throw it short. They have a running back. They're running RPO, which he's completed at least 30, 40 yards on this past week. I think this offense is going to be really difficult. They allowed 0 pressures. That's one of the most mind-blowing things about this game. And you saw Jordan Love sit back there clean as day. It's because of the use of RPO. It's because of the use of play action, but it's also the offensive line still has to be quality to do that. This offense might be pretty scary to deal with, especially if Jordan Love stays healthy, both physically and mentally, because he seems kind of like he might be a little bit mentally weak. But damn, this Packers team really stuck out to me, and it was a great setup for him in week 1, right? So here I am, overreaction. Week 2 is the week of overreactions. I should have prefaced everything I said with some numbers, but I'll talk about them when they matter. And it's going to be hard to figure out what the Packers defense is really going to be. It was a terrible spot. You got Goff outdoors with a new coordinator, a new offensive line that looked terrible, by the way, especially relative to his old offensive line. This is not going to be the Lions' offense of past years. I think that's pretty clear evidence from what we've seen. I mean, what they averaged 3.8 yards per play for this Lions team that averaged like 35 points last year. I know it's week 1. I do think they're going to get better throughout the season, but I don't think they're going to, in 5 days, be able to fix their issues at the offensive line and, with the offensive play calling, because it definitely looked way different, significantly different. Even the tempo of the game seemed different, and it's to be expected. And I thought all about the Packers. Now, what about the Commanders? Their defense is not what we've seen against the Giants. That offers us a reason to fade them. I look at this number, Jim, and I know you see it as kind of moving back, but obviously the book that I use and the book that I use to populate my database is Penny. And I mapped this game out, and I see an incredible trend in almost any way you slice it. If I take the larger sample, all 5 of the different samples together, the home team wins this game 60 and 22, 71% of the time. That means historically this market, the home team has played more like a minus 250 than like a minus 180 or whatever they are right now. But I am looking at this Packers team. I want to continue to fade the Commanders, especially after that defensive performance. I think the offense is going to be good. Jane Daniels, he performed. But a lot of his play is just like Caleb Williams to some extent. Like, he's not delivering in the pocket as much as you'd like to see him. Way more than Caleb Williams is. But it wasn't as clean. That offense was not clean and buttoned up. I want to bet the Packers. I will have action on the Packers. I was wondering if I should wait and just take the 3. But I look at the money line price, and I'm like, sometimes you just got to pay the juice if you know it's a profitable play. And I see this as a profitable play on the money line.
Wow.
Jimmy, what was my record last year on this price range on the money line? I think I went 5-0.
It was very successful. So really interesting stuff coming from the chat. TJ says this is so obvious. You saw one game. Give me Washington plus the points over reaction. He says everyone thinks Washington didn't perform, but let's not forget they won a divisional game by margin. TJ says he will be huge on.
Yeah. They were begging the Giants to come back into that game. Absolutely begging them.
AM's power ratings set this up where he sets this line at 3. So when it moved to 4, he moved on the Commanders. I need the books to show their hand.
So wait, I mean, the 3.5 is not showing their hand. Who went farther in the playoffs? Who? And you're talking about being a public side. I see the Commanders being totally a public side, especially amongst the group that I, grew up with and that I played football with in college. The Commanders had a walk in the park in week 1 at home. Now they go on the road for the first time on the season, hostile environment against a true contender. I think we're going to find out who the ceiling, what the ceiling and floor looks like this year. Where the Commanders, what would they do on the road last year? They had one big win, a few in the playoffs. I mean, Jane Daniels is going to put the team in the game anytime, any day of the week. But this defense, who has the path of least resistance? It's the Packers. Obviously, on a short week at home on prime time, you got a rest advantage. There's a lot. I think it's reflected in the line. I see 3.5 and a 3 like this is strong.
It was strong when it moved to 4. 3.5 at plus 102 is not strong to me.
The 3.5 at plus 102, but the minus 180 is more of a minus 3.5 type of price. I think it's crazy that a minus 3, the price range, and this is key numbers. This is what key numbers will do. a -3. So say there's the home team's -3. The range over the past 3 years has been from -121 to -185. It's a massive range. We're sitting right here at -180. I don't think we're going to be, and we're already down from -155 from the actual open.
Well, I do not want the Commanders, and I'm not going to. I understand there are some sites that tell us that this is 50-50. There are other sites that tell us the Packers are very public. I expect the Packers to be very public come Thursday night. And I'm not going to, because of that, flip over to a Commanders team that I really, really need to see Krosky Merritt deliver. I need to see him do that. I need to see him do that on the road. I need to see them do that, with 5 days off.
Against a quality football team.
So I am off, but not fully, because
look what players that leave the Giants do. Saquon Barkley wins the Super Bowl. Daniel Jones in his first ever performance for another team. What did he do? He made history. I mean, the Giants are a damned organization. That was not a quality opponent at all in week 1 of the season.
The under appeals to me, though. I don't believe the Commanders are going to be able to comfortably move the ball on the ground. And I think that the Commanders' defense is going to be much better early in the year, as they're an old group. They're a veteran group, and they're healthy right now. Did you have any interest on trying to get under this total?
I am not going to play with that right now. I'm just going to stick to the side because I look at the higher total range, and this market is moving towards the under. It looks to be pretty tricky. Looks to be pretty tricky with a potential blowout range. And
I have interest in this under. I'm not moving on it tonight. I want to study it a little more and see what happens with the market. At what point do you think you're going to pull the trigger, and it will be on Packers money line?
I am going to pull the trigger today, at least on a money line parlay with the Packers in it. I might bet the money line if I was really hoping for like a -170. I'd feel very comfortable with that, but we'll see where it goes. I will definitely have action on it. And I'm thinking about what you're talking about. You think about these quarterbacks. They're not going to turn the ball over, which is not going to, be the quick change of field and points up right away, quick points. The under makes a lot of sense. If it goes under, I bet you it goes way under.
I'm really interested in it. So I want to see where it goes. I want to marinate with it a little longer, but I'm very interested in the under. And we have a Packers money line going to be used in a parlay to start, and could be used in more variations by our Troy Torrence. That's our Thursday nighter. Join us for our live stream right here at 7:20 p.m. Eastern. We roll on Sunday, September 14th, 1 p.m. Eastern. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Looked very good in their first game against Carolina. Easy 26-10 victory at home. At the Cincinnati Bengals, who looked very bad in Cleveland. First team to win a game in 25 years with 7 yards of offense. Well, that's the lowest that any team has ever had in the second half. 7 yards of offense is the fewest yards in the second half by a winning team in the last 25 years. Outgained 327 to 141. It was absolutely wild. And my heart actually, in all honesty, goes out to the Browns fans who just seem to take it in the prison pocket over and over and over again, year after year, week after week. And I do have compassion. I'm surprised I have it, but I do. That one stung. Let's take a look at the total for this one here. Cincinnati, Jacksonville. We have a 49.5 -112 to the under. This opened up 49.5 -106 to the under. We've seen 6 cents of movement towards the under. From a point spread perspective here, we have Jacksonville +3 at -113. They opened up, the look ahead was 5.5. When we got to Sunday night, this moved to 4, and now it is a 3.5. Here's another situation where I don't want to believe what I saw from either of these football teams. We have 53% of tickets and 73% of cash on Jacksonville, 83% of tickets and 73% of cash on the over. Liam Cohen, the new head coach who orchestrated the impressive Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing attack that looked a lot weaker without him, was given the game ball by owner Shad Khan. Everybody's happy. Everybody's happy in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence was 19 of 31 for 178 yards, touchdown pick. And the guy that I was attacking, Travis Etienne, was a monster. A monster. The second time in his last 28 games that he's gone over 100 yards rushing, and he did it easily. 16 carries for 143 yards. He caught 3 passes for 13 yards. WR1, Brian Thomas Jr. only caught 1 pass for 11 yards. It was tight end Brenton Strange. He led receivers with 4 catches for 85 yards. De'Ami Brown, coming over from the Commanders, caught 3 passes for 52 yards. The new offensive line looked excellent. They signed Robert Hainsey, their center. They signed him from the Buccaneers. They signed left guard Patrick McCarry from the Ravens. They have Anton Harrison, who did get hurt. We'll talk about that. But right tackle, left guard Ezra Cleveland, left tackle Walker Little. They looked really good. Now, they were just 2 of 5 in the red zone. But they didn't allow a sack, that offensive line. They only allowed Lawrence to take 1 hit. The pass rush only had 1 sack, but they got 5 quarterback hits on Bryce Young and applied pressure. Jordan Lucas and Foye Aluokan had interceptions. Aluokan led all Jags with 10 tackles. The defense bent but didn't break. They allowed the Panthers to go 8 of 15 on 3rd down against them. The Panthers. That's not a good sign. Travis Hunter, second overall pick in the NFL draft, was way more active on offense than defense, but he did play both sides of the ball. We knew that was going to happen. Hunter played 39 offensive snaps, caught 6 passes for 33 yards. He played just 6 snaps on defense. He worked as an outside cornerback in passing situations. And as I said, right tackle Anton Harrison did leave the game late with a back injury, and he's listed as questionable right now. The Bengals coming off an extremely underwhelming performance in their 17-16 victory at Cleveland. Bengals were outgained 327 to 141. Joe Burrow was 14 of 23 for 113 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, 113 passing yards, the 3rd fewest Burrow's 6-year career. T. Higgins led receivers with 3 catches for 33 yards. Chase Brown ran 21 times for 43 yards and a touchdown. In 2024, the Bengals ranked 29th in both pass blocking and run blocking grade. We talked about that in our future show. They made no major additions this offseason. Nothing changed. They allowed 3 sacks and 7 quarterback hits. I don't know how you could trust the Bengals in most situations, but this here seems like a real buy low spot. Trey Hendrickson had a sack and 3 quarterback hits. The rest of the team managed a sack and 2 quarterback hits. We know that from last season. Last season, Hendrickson had 17.5 sacks. The rest of the team had 18.5. DJ Turner and Jordan Battle each had big interceptions for new defensive coordinator Al Golden. Lucas Patrick left with a calf injury in the second quarter. He did not return. Zach Taylor said on Monday that he will be out at least a week due to the calf injury. So here we have an offensive line that looked horrible, that did nothing to fix itself in the offseason, and they're going to lose Lucas Patrick here for this one this week. Take it away, Troy, Torrance, Jaguars, Bengals.
This is a pretty tough game, but I had to make a move on it. You talked about the line movement a little bit from 5.5 down to 3.5 is what I'm looking at. Total sitting at 49.5. And if you look historically, this price range, pretty high total. So total's over 44. The road team tends to cash at extremely high rate. And this metric that I'm about to give applies to all these games in week 2. It's a week of overreactions, and maybe I'm overreacting to the first 2 games. But public home teams in week 1 with 60% or more, in week 2 after week 1. Public home teams with 60% or more money line bets on them. The road team is 16-5 ATS, 12-10 straight up, and all those favorites, you average out the price, we're average favorites of 6 points. So massive favorites, losing over 50% of the time on the money line. I think this is a week I'm going to be backing a lot of dogs. The first game we talked about is a little bit of an outlier because it is a primetime game. And I do think that those tend to be different, especially in the market and how that, how the games correlate with the market. I was shocked to watch the Jaguars offense. You look at some of these, rookies or second-year quarterbacks, young quarterbacks with these new coordinators, and I think it was pretty apparent right away that Cohen-Udinski combo is going to be great. I feel like there was some trickery, some misdirection, generated a few explosive plays. The offensive line looked great, but I'm going to be talking great things about the Jaguars, but they did go against the Panthers. Talk about incompetent opponents, and it's hard to tell right now who's going to take first place in the incompetency category. The Panthers, the Giants, there's some teams down there that are going to be jockeying for position for that first-round pick. So maybe it's the Panthers. I do have a little bit higher hopes for them than the Giants this season, unless they move to Jackson Dart. The Jaguars defense, this is where I was actually pretty surprised. The D-line, they only applied pressure on 10% of the snaps, and it's supposed to be their strong suit. Like you said, 8 of 15 on third down. The linebacker core was actually fucking put up some numbers, which tells me that the defensive line, which could be elite, really didn't perform. And I disagree with the coverage grade allocated by PFF with this defensive secondary. They got him. If you go back, I had to rewatch this game because I was pretty occupied watching the Giants get destroyed when this game was happening. So I had to go back and watch. I thought the secondary played pretty solid from what I could see. So the Bengals on the other hand, we see this every year. Nothing changes. The first 2 games of the season, the first 3-4 games even, but really the first 2 weeks, the Bengals have been terrible historically. I thought it would change last year. It didn't. It blew up in my face. This year I'm on the other side of that. Bengals offense is graded out as 24th, which I was actually shocked to see 24th because they look terrible. 7 yards in the second half for Joe Burrow. Cleveland's defense is, I don't know what Cleveland's defense is because they always do this to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow struggles early in the season. He struggles with this defense. The offensive line graded out 25th and 31st in pass block and run block respectively. That's terrible, but that's what to be expected with this Bengals team. And the defense graded out great, but that's because they were up against an offense that I thought an offensive line would be better in this year. They turn out not to be true. Maybe they can put it together towards the end of the season, but I don't believe that either of these 2 teams were truly tested in week 1, even though the Bengals should have lost. So take that for what it is. I regret not being on the Jaguars last week in a very similar style of market that we're seeing in the Packers until they closed 3 or lower. I know the Jaguars ended up closing 4.5 last week. I'm on the Jags. I bet Jags plus 3.5. I think the Jags, see how the Browns have success and try to deploy a similar scheme, cover 1 man-to-man. They do have some pieces in the secondary that might be able to do that because I think that's what you got to do if you want to hold the Bengals down. The Bengals are 0-4 straight up in ATS at home in the first 3 weeks of the season. The average line in that case is 5.5 points. It's just 3.5 is too good of a number for me. So I made that bet minus 115.
I think this will be us going heads up on this one. I'm not sure. I'm going to try to time this right. I'd like the 3. I can get the 3 at a decent price right now, and maybe I should just pull the trigger. Now, we're going to be dealing with this for every game this week. I do not take this as a 5.5 to a 3.5. I don't. Because
you're talking about the look-ahead line was still open, which is this is the only week you'll see that at penny.
Yes, exactly. So, I see this as, yes, it's moved towards the Jaguars. I see this opening up the Jaguars plus 4 at minus 109 in my head. I understand that it was 5.5 before the games were played, but I'm not taking that. I'm taking that in as information, but I'm not taking that in as a market move per se.
And then what do you think the spread should be? 2.5, 3?
No, I think the line is right. I think the line is right. And the thing is, as I said in that Packers spot, I can't explain from an X's and O's standpoint why the line is moving to Washington. Now, I know you guys did in the chat, and I get it. But for me, for my X's and O's, I can't explain it. I don't think it makes sense. Here,
I think the opener is way more important in that one.
But here, I can explain it perfectly. We just watched the Bengals play one of the worst football games I've ever seen Burrow and Higgins and Chase play together, and Chase Brown for that matter too. I've never seen anything quite like it. They were absolutely horrific. and I'm going to take advantage of that. Yeah, it was a love fest for the Jaguars and their 29-year-old offensive coordinator and his trick plays at home, and the owner gives the coach the game ball, and they all circle jerk around each other and think we got a playoff team. I don't fucking believe it. I don't believe it for a second. And I think I've got a huge advantage now on what we saw last week. Now, with your X's and O's, you believe what you saw was a new Jaguars football team.
No, that's not necessarily what I think. I think the Bengals are still overpriced in the market because they have Joe Burrow at quarterback.
But this is the time after Joe Burrow has his third worst game in the history of his career, and they look terrible. Now, look, there's nothing wrong with being on the other side of each other. I mean, this is bound to happen at points this year, but I do not believe in the Jaguars. And now they're going to go on the road, and their feel-good fucking party is going to come to an end. How many games are they going to win on the road this year outside the division?
Jaguars, I don't know, few games. But why not? Why not against this defense who's allowing 30 points to the Broncos, 27 points to the Titans? This 290 yards to Flacco, a team that couldn't run the ball, should have lost. Yeah, this Bengals team's overpriced.
Is Travis Etienne a monster? Second time in 28 games he's gone over 100 yards. I'm just not going to believe what I saw, and I'll deal with the consequences. I
get it, dude.
But here's my question: If you were in my shoes, when would you bet the -3?
I would wait if I were you to bet the 3. I think it is going to 3. I think you definitely got to be betting it by Thursday. Probably Thursday is really when you see the next fluctuation. I feel like
I'm pretty comfortable with the -3 right now between -118 and -122.
You got a -118. That's pretty good.
So I'm going to decide when to be on the Bengals here. I faded them last week, and I'm going to decide. But you guys know that I this loving that's happening in Jacksonville, I don't believe in. Troy on the Jags +3.5. Troy, do you want to touch on the total before we move on to the next game? If you like the Jags and you question the Bengals defense,
yep,
that would lead you to a Jags team total over. Is that something in the cards for you? Or
100%, but I would rather just play both. I think if I wanted to I would get on both offenses. I think the total going over, I know it profiles damn well. 27-16 to the over, 12-7 to the over, 12-10 to the over. Those are the 3 samples that match this profile. This is a pretty big move, as I'm, how I'm marking it. So I think the over is the play, and I was actually toggling between the two, trying to figure it out, and I decided to go with the Jaguars. But I might add,
yeah, I guess the over does have appeal. AM believing that as well. Okay, so I'm going to be on the 3 at some point in the next 12 to 24 hours. It could be sooner, could even be tonight. I'm going to take a closer look at the over. I do think that the over makes sense here. And Troy, you are on the Jags +3.5, and you are looking at making moves on the over in some form, some fashion.
Yes.
Let's roll on. Next up for us, we have 1 p.m. Eastern action. New York Giants, 0-1 thus far. A very ugly road performance, 21-6 loss at Washington. At the Dallas Cowboys, who have a rest advantage as they open the season on Thursday. The problem is, and we'll talk about it nonstop all season long, is sell high and buy low. And it's possible that this could be the highest to buy the Dallas Cowboys all season long. It's possible. It's possible that this could be the lowest to buy in on the Giants all season long. I'm not saying that I'm very interested in having anything to do with the New York Giants, but that is a very possible situation. Let's take a look at the total here for Giants Cowboys. We have a 44.5. It's -113 to the under. It's opened up -107 to the under. 6 cents of movement towards the under. Let's get to the spread here. I do have 5 bets that I've made, and I'm not sure how often I'm going to come with it. The amount of bets that we had last week, I'll never have. That's months of work in the off season. But those 5 bets are just on 2 games. So I wanted to talk everything out with you guys before I invest. Here we have the New York Giants +6 at -109. The look ahead was a 3. When this became available at 4:17 p.m., it was a 4. And it's just growing. Now we have a 6. It's hard to believe. It is hard to believe. When we get to the cash flow, that the Cowboys would this be a big favorite against any team in the National Football League. When we get to the cash flow here, we don't have information on the total, but we know 76% of tickets and 90% of cash is on Dallas. Dougie Y says Giants with Russ are atrocious. He says, I think the Cowboys are the side, but don't want to bet them high. AM says he's got this projected at 4.5. He says if this gets to 7, so he's already on the Cowboys -4.5 because he has the projected at Cowboys -6. He said if this gets to the 7, he'll go on the other side. Jared TG says putting a bet on the Cowboys -6 would be enough to make anybody nauseous. Not that the Giants are easy to back. I guess Gorky wants to start, but it's being confirmed that Russell Wilson will be starting week 2. He was 17 of 37 for 168 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, what have we seen from the Giants opening up their season the last 3 years? They get annihilated. This 21-6 was the closest first game of the year they've had in the last 3 years. They lost 28-6 to Minnesota last year. They lost 40-0 to Dallas in 2023. The performance of Russell Wilson was bad, but again, he's being named starter. He also 17 of 37 for 168 yards. He also led the running game with 44 yards on the ground from 8 carries. Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary struggled. They combined for 13 carries for 33 yards. Scadabo ran 2 times for -3 yards. I know he had some positive yardage, through the year. Malik Neighbors has been dealing with a back injury. He caught 5 passes for 71 yards. At what point in the year is Malik Neighbors going to sit out because of the back injury? And what would you do if you had the Giants in your pocket and on Friday Malik Neighbors says, my back's really hurting. I don't know if I'm going to play. That's a problem. Say what, my man?
I was going to say I would do what I did this week when I saw the Colts have so much success with Daniel Jones. I knew exactly at that point when I seen just so much fluidity with Daniel Jones that the Giants were dead in Washington.
We got Wine Time Sports in the house. Lucas Ryan as well. Wine Time said Giants look like the worst offense in football. Wandale Robinson caught 6 for 55. The pass rush was formidable, but they're going to need more to be successful. Brian Burns had 2 sacks. 3rd overall pick Abdul Carter at a half sack. He also blocked the punt in the 3rd quarter. It was unlucky that it didn't help more. But Kayvon Thibodeau also had a half sack, but all 3 sacks came in the first half. Now we have Micah McFadden, their linebacker, carted off the field in New York's 2nd defensive series that hurt them. They say that it appears that he did not suffer any structural damage. Offensive tackle Andrew Thomas, of course, unable to play week 1 because of a foot injury. He was able to participate in practice in a limited fashion on Wednesday and Friday, but they didn't want to risk re-injury. God, that guy just drives me crazy. So with him out, James Hudson started left tackle. Thomas is listed again as questionable this week. Cowboys come into this with a rest and prep advantage. They played in week 1 on Thursday night, falling 24-20 as the defending champion Eagles. They outgained the Eagles 307-302. Dak went 21-34 for 188 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. If you look at CeeDee Lamb's stats, they were pretty good. Obviously, we can only think of the main drop that hurt them so badly. There was probably there was 2 drops at least. There was 1 drop that was egregious, but he finished with 7 catches for 110 yards. Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders looked better than I expected them to look. Sanders did have a costly fumble. The 2 combined for 19 carries for 107 yards. They were a very impressive 7 of 11 on 3rd down. And the Cowboys' offensive line looked very good despite the retirement of future Hall of Famer Zach Martin. Tyler Smith, the new anchor, center Cooper Beebe in his 2nd year. They draft Alabama left guard Tyler Booker, 12th overall out of Alabama. The offensive line held the Eagles, who were missing Jalen Carter, to 0 sacks and 1 quarterback hit. Now their pass rush struggled. they did get a sack and they did get 5 quarterback hits. The run defense that struggled so mightily last year struggled again. I guess that's a surprise situation. They allowed the Eagles to run 38 times for 158 yards and 3 touchdowns. They allowed the Eagles to go 8 of 13 on third down and 3 of 3 in the red zone. Now, look, the Giants aren't the Eagles, so maybe that's not important information, but 8 of 13 is a poor job by the Cowboys defense. The secondary did shut down A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. They combined to catch just 4 passes for 24 yards. I don't want the Cowboys, but I don't really want – the rest advantage sucks. The rest advantage is such – if there was no rest advantage and an opportunity to plan and for them to completely focus, watch the Giants play the Commanders, watch them get suffocated and try and do the exact same things – is a huge advantage for them. Troy Torrence, take it away. AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. Cowboys hosting the Giants.
That advantage didn't seem to skip. Oh, no, that's right. Never mind. I was about to throw some shade your way, but you didn't take the Commanders because that's the same rest advantage you're seeing in that game right there. I mean, I was on the Giants, and I was pretty confident, but I was more confident in the number than I was the team, and I think they had every right to be in that game more than the scoreboard reflected. I think the Commanders kept trying to give the ball, put the Giants in good situations, and they just didn't want them. Obviously, when you can't score from the 3-yard line on 8 plays of the game, it's just it does not look good. And I feel like this is the type of game where I would look at these two teams on different ends of the spectrum going into week 1, and now they completely reverse and flip sides. Cowboys overperformed and shocked a lot of people in the first game of the season on the world stage. And the Giants looked on the opposite side of that, absolutely terrible in week 1 against the public sweetheart. Well, I think it's the public sweetheart Commanders. But we'll see how public they are because that's going to be important to me. The Commanders-Packers game is still on my mind because TJ won't let it go in the chat. I'm thinking about it. But watching Daniel Jones, like I said, his success with Steichen, I knew the Giants were dead. It was early in that game. It was still close, but I knew it was dead and then I watched the whole game under that line of thinking, and it just came to fruition. The Giants offense did not look good. Russell graded out as the 30th overall quarterback. I would say he was definitely the 32nd quarterback. The only 2 quarterbacks that graded out worse were Jared Goff and Bo Nix. You could tell he did not make any pre-snap reads. He couldn't react post-snap. He did have some scrambles, but didn't look very athletic or mobile when he was making the runs. The Giants O-line graded out better than I expected. Where's Thomas? What's going on with Thomas? Jimmy?
It's the same bullshit, man. So he's got a foot injury, and those, as you know, the same concern that the Packers had with Jaden Reed is that the foot injury just kind of sticks around. They don't want to go through a whole year of will he or won't he. But he practiced. Right. Now didn't practice in full, but he practiced Wednesday and Friday. I thought he was going to play.
So did I. And he would be a huge piece to that offensive line, but it's not like protecting Russell Wilson is necessarily going to make him better. I think those days are gone. He's tainting his whole entire legacy. This was the worst offense in the league. Weinheim said it. I agree, and I'm starting to question Dable's abilities, to really connect with his team. Defensively, they struggled as well. I mean, they did have a really formidable pass rush. The 4 down linemen actually graded out pretty well, but they couldn't defend the dual threat in the backfield. I don't think we're going to see that necessarily in this game. I want to lean towards the Giants in this game. Dak, I mean, he absolutely balled. He delivered the ball all over the field, beyond the numbers, inside the hashes with accuracy. It looked like to any spot on the field. I mean, he showed a little uptick in his mobility. It seemed like the offensive line did a great job. I know without Jalen Carter, it was much easier. And if this O-line could just be average to good, this Cowboys offense couldn't be elite. I'm going to be honest with you. With these 2 receivers, I don't know if Dak could sustain this level of success, but the defense, I thought there were some things that I liked about this defense, even though they graded out 26th for PFF. I kind of disagree with it. I thought Eberflus did a great job, and he definitely mixed it up from what we're used to seeing. And, it's a really tough game. I believe the Cowboys might have some legs this season if they can stay healthy, if the offensive line can stay good, and the elite weaponry can actually catch the passes. I think that this team could be pretty good. But we got this big-ass number right after week 1. We know the public's going to come in on the Cowboys. And I'm leaning Giants, but I'm not going to be making a bet on this game.
I don't know how you can press the button on the Giants, man. I just don't know. I imagine that this is a 7.5 on NFL Pub Hub on Sunday morning.
I know, but it's like we got to 7.5. I was thinking that's exactly where I thought. I thought this was going to between like 7.25 in that range. It's like
then,
the Giants, the Titans, the Browns, like the Dolphins. Some of these teams got to be bad. Like that's how I feel.
I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can go high enough. I don't want the Cowboys. So, but I mean, it feels like in a term that we use often, it's just optional misery.
Optional misery.
I mean, I just don't see why I would feel sick before the game started. I would keep telling myself, look, 7.5 publicly, and then the Cowboys would go down and score and make it be 7-0 immediately. And I'd just be like, what have I done? I would prefer just not to be involved. I will say this for those of you thinking about the Cowboys in a money line parlay or teaser.
I know historically it hasn't been great for week 2 home teams in this spot necessarily, but in division, this market type shows that, the teaser leg with the Cowboys is not a bad option to go. So if you're going to go anywhere, maybe that's the way you go is the Cowboys on a teaser. But that even makes me feel queasy.
I'm interested in the over. I know that sounds maybe crazy, but
12-4 to the over, 15-5 to the over. And the last one in division, the most specific profile is 3-0 to the over.
Their offense looked horrible. I know that the Giants offense looked horrible, but I'm not sold on the Cowboys defense. And we saw what happened on Thursday night. I mean, it's pretty simple to break it down. It was going to be a very high scoring game. There was a Sanders fumble with the Cowboys driving, and then the game had the lightning break for an hour and a half. And we always know what happens when people get tired. They come back and it's just everything changes. The Cowboys should be a team that delivers overs this year. We don't trust their defense that much. And why wouldn't, do we believe that this now, okay, well, let me just say the secondary completely shut down AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. Are they, is that going to do we believe in the Cowboys shutting down elite receivers?
It's really hard to believe, but that's what we've seen. It didn't look like there was much separation on those routes. And I thought Jalen, we could talk about the Eagles. See, it's like then we could just start capping the Eagles right away with this because it makes sense.
That is there's things that don't correlate. The only
Especially
thing
their Cowboys defense per PFF 26th per PFF, and I didn't agree with that grade at all.
Well, I guess I'm going to leave Giants and the over as the angles that I'll be looking at moving forward, but I feel sick talking about thinking about moving on the Giants after what they showed, and I hate the fact that the Cowboys have the extra rest. I hate it so much. I despise it here. Let's roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, with the Chicago Bears, 0-1 to start the year. The Detroit Lions, an angry Lions team. We're at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. The Bears, of course, on a short week. The Lions were just embarrassed. The Bears aren't happy, but they weren't embarrassed. Let's take a look at the total to get us started here. We have a 47.5. It's minus 117 to the under. Opened up at 48.5. It didn't really. It opened up 48.5 to look ahead. So this opened up at 47.5, 8:51 p.m. on Sunday night. And since then, it's moved 6 cents towards the under. Either way you look at it, it's moving to the under. From a point spread standpoint, we have Detroit -6 at minus 102. The look ahead was 4.5. On Sunday night, it was a 4.5. It quickly went to 5.
Last night's game gets up to 6.
Yes, you're absolutely right. That's so important because Sunday night this was moving all over the place. Sunday night, because of course the Bears hadn't played yet, you could have gotten in at 3.5, which is crazy. Now we have a 6. We are staring at a 6. 1.5 point move towards the Detroit Lions. When we get to the cash flow for this spot, we have 62% of the tickets on Detroit and 55% of the cash. We have 63% of the tickets on the under and 77% of the cash on the over. Caleb Williams was 21 of 35 for 210 yards, touchdown. He ran 6 times for 58 yards in his first career rushing touchdown. Shout out to the MMA locker room, our guy Mills, who had Caleb Williams touchdown at plus 500. Shout out to Nutflush Allen in our chat. He had Caleb Williams 5 or more rush yards in every quarter at plus 1,100. Nutflush Allen cashing an 11-1 ticket on Monday night. Shout out to both of you gentlemen. Excellent work. DJ Moore led receivers with 3 catches for 68 yards. He also had a fumble. Olamide Zaccheaus had 4 catches for 42 yards because, as you mentioned earlier, that Rome Odunze did not menace. He failed to menace. 6 catches for 37 yards and a touchdown. DeAndre Swift was, better than I imagined him to be. But I could not coach a team that doesn't have a running back that can run into the teeth of the defense. I would lose my mind watching him and forcing all these plays out towards the outside. But he had 17 carries for 53 yards. He caught 3 passes for 12 yards. The Bears were just 3 of 12 on third down, but they did go 2 of 2 in the red zone. It's Caleb Williams' feet. They work down there. The pass, even though that was his first career touchdown, I don't think maybe we shouldn't get too caught up in that. The pass rush was expected to be a weak spot, and they held their own. They finished with 3 sacks and 5 quarterback hits. Their secondary was missing Kyler Gordon with a hamstring injury and Jalen Johnson with a groin injury. It was very noticeable in the second half. Both are listed as questionable. Deshaun Wright returned the interception, 74 yards to the house. The defense held the Vikings to 3 of 12 on third down. And TJ Edwards was also inactive. Those are 3 big pieces to the defense. Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, and TJ Edwards. All 3 are listed as questionable this week, and all 3 need to be monitored. The Lions coming off a very disturbing 27-13 loss at Green Bay. Goff was 31 of 39 for 225 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Laporta led receivers with 6 catches for 79 yards because there were Lions players missing that we've not seen missing before. Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Jamison Williams combined for 8 catches for 68 yards. They got nothing from their running game. Montgomery and Gibbs combined for 20 carries for just 44 yards. This is a team that was scoring 33 points per game last season, 33.2, and they don't reach the end zone until the final minute. And they were just 1 of 4 in the red zone. That one shouldn't really count. How much of that was due to the loss of offensive coordinator Ben Johnson? Frank Ragnow's retirement in the offseason. I mean, Ragnow wasn't playing 17 games a year. They lost Kevin Zeitler to the Titans is that part. And then this is the most important part. The pass rush with Aiden Hutchinson back, playing alongside Marcus Davenport, was expected to be a great strength. They failed to get a sack. We know that they led the league in PFF rush grade last year with Hutchinson in the lineup. They did nothing. It was alarming. Safety Daniel Thomas injured his hand in the first quarter, and cornerback Terrion Arnold injured his groin in the third quarter. Dan Campbell says he doesn't think Arnold's groin injury is a long-term issue, but I don't think he's playing this week. Take it away for us here, Troy. Bears, Lions, Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan.
This is a great market to look at because it's so fascinating to me. If you look at just the line movement alone from, moving through the, up into 6.5, looking at the 6.5 closing range, you see a wide array of results. Before you look at divisional only or anything with total, just standalone spread and line movement, it's a 50-50 proposition on the money line, on the spread, but it's a massive 17-4 straight up spot for the home favorite, 14-5 to the over. All of the profiles in this range play to the over. But when you start incorporating the total into this situation, a total higher than 44, which is what we're looking at here, the road team is 7-3 ATS, 3-7 straight up, 6-2 to the over. And here's the crazy part about this profile is it's either a 3-point game or a 20-point game. So even though, like a 3-point game, the home teams win most of this profile. So I think this game is going to be very closely contested, or it could be potentially a blowout. That's what I'm seeing in the database. And I think it's pretty drastic too when you start opening it up and getting a little wider range and a bigger sample. But I like to look at the more specific stuff in the NFL. From a matchup standpoint, looking at what the Bears did yesterday, actually I want to start with the Lions because they're going to be on my mind. Watching that Lions game was just I could not believe my eyes. Even Penny Sewell looked a step slower than he did last year. Now, he still graded out pretty decent, but everybody else in the lineup graded in the bottom 10% of their position. It was a terrible offensive line, a terrible performance. And I don't think that the defensive line that they were up against was all that mighty. So I think the offensive line is definitely in some trouble from where they were historically, because they were off the charts in years past, where their offensive line was graded out significantly higher than everybody else. That's not the same. Jared Goff, the loss of Benny Johnson, the loss of an elite offensive line clearly impacted his ability to play football. He ranked 31st in week 1. Gibbs only ran the ball for 2.1 yards per carry, and it removes the ability to play action, right? That was such a big piece of Ben Johnson and Jared Goff success last season. If you can't run the ball effectively, you can't run play action effectively. And the Lions defense, it was embarrassing, honestly, like such a highly touted defensive line with no pressures, no sacks. I mean, just pretty shocking results. And it was a Lions defense that's always been pretty clearly vulnerable in the passing game, and especially if they can't get the pass rush going. The Bears offense, and here's where I'm going to start pitching the Bears, because I am indeed on the Bears. So I faded them in week 1. I do think that it's going to take some time for Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson's to mesh, but I do think that Ben Johnson going back into Detroit, Caleb Williams has played great in Detroit throughout his career, short career it being, only delivered, Caleb Williams. I have a problem with this guy, obviously. I talk about the nail polish. I made a post about that today, and I talk about his ability to lead the team and to be a professional quarterback, because he only delivered 2, maybe 3 passes from the pocket. All of his offensive production came from mobility, moving out of the pocket. He's not making the right reads. He's clearly missing open receivers down the field. But his ability, like looking at him improvise with the ball in his hands, getting out of the pocket, hitting it into a second gear that nobody else could touch, maybe the fastest I've seen a quarterback run in a long time in the NFL, did Caleb Williams this past week. The offensive line was better, but it still struggled against the Vikings. And I still think that the Bears, I was very impressed with what they did on defense, especially without some very important pieces like Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson. I thought the secondary was extremely sticky outside of maybe 1 or 2 broken coverages in a bad fourth quarter. I was actually impressed with what Dennis Allen did with his defense. And I've talked about fading Caleb Williams and his nail polish, but I can't get over this spot. I have to bet the Bears. I think Caleb Williams' best game was in Detroit last year. The Bears have been teetering on a win in Detroit, even going back to Justin Fields' days. And Ben Johnson coming home, he knows the Lions pretty damn well. He's got revenge in this game. And I think the Lions are a different team. So I think this is too many points. Pretty clear to me that it's too many points. I'm on the Bears +6.
Bears +6 for Troy. What was the VIG?
-110.
See, for me, if I wanted to fade the Lions, last week would not allow me to do it this week. So there's nothing I could do. If I wanted to back the Bears, I guess I can't make a bet, because I can't fade the Lions after what we saw them, how everybody saw them look so horrible. When you go from outdoors to indoors, I don't want to back them. I think that there may be some reality behind this team not being nearly as good as we've seen, because they just keep, the wins just keep going up, 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 up and away. 15-2 last year with all the injuries that they dealt with.
What about the over? Any thoughts on that?
I have concern. I mean, obviously I'm reading TJ calling this a dead under, but I do have concern with how well these teams do know each other. And that Ben Johnson is going to be able to help the Bears. I know he's the offensive guru, but he's going to be able to help the Bears defense as well, because he knows what makes the Lions tick and what makes them work. And take another look at this total here. We have the spread that's moved to 6, and this total one more time is sitting at 47.5 or 47.
I was honestly looking at betting the total as well in this game, because you can make a case for the Lions bouncing back offensively very easily. But the market has been so efficient in these divisional games in this price range with a high total and a 2 field goal, touchdown spread range. I mean, the market is so damn efficient that this move to the unders got me off the total. Because even though the broader profile plays to the over, once you show that the market's moving towards the under and you account for that, it flips the profile completely.
I'm getting higher and higher on doubling up on all totals. First half under and full game under. This is the kind of offenses that points can be scored in a hurry. They're also going to want to deliver long drives. And we saw that utilized perfectly by the Falcons. Yeah, I mean, we're talking 9-minute Penix drive. Those things can be very, very helpful for your football team. I don't feel like I've got an angle on the total. And I understand buying low on the Bears.
But you're also selling low on the Lions.
And I just can't do it. And I won't. But I will cheer you on.
Thank you.
On the other hand, Troy's moving on the Bears +6 at -110, and Jared TG agreeing with the under look. Dougie Wise on Lions -3.5 first half. Wager Detective also on the Bears, and TJ says Ben Johnson crafted the offense. We have to bet the under. Have to be on the under. Says the best on the board. Now Flush Allen says trust me on this relationship between Caleb Williams and the head coach will sour extremely fast. He said he's going to set Bears passing record. How about making regular completions first?
I mean, to piggyback on that thought right there, I mean, it's so true. I've heard him in the media, Ben Johnson, that is talking about the quarterback situation or position, and it did not sound good. It did not seem like it almost seemed like he wanted to move on to Badgett. That's what it seemed like to me.
Let's roll on. Next up, we have Los Angeles Rams at Tennessee Titans. We're at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. And I am all in, as you guys know, on the LA Rams this year. They are so predictable. I find them so easy to cap. I think they're very, very good. As you guys know, I got the 20-1 to win the Super Bowl, 2-1 to win the division, over 9.5 wins. I bet them -2.5 at -115 last week. And I bet the under 44, but that was an under you really pushed me towards, and it just got more and more appealing and moved on it. Here, I've tripled up on this football game. I need the market to say this is a must bet, and we're very concerned. And maybe at some point I won't need that. It hasn't seemed to have affected the totals here. I mean, would I rather have gotten in on a 44? Yes. There was a 21.5 available for a very short period of time on the first half. I did settle for a 21, and I settled for a 42. I doubled up on the unders here. And I'm also on the LA Rams double result, +105. If I think it's a low-scoring game with low volatility, then I don't need the Rams to cover numbers. I just need these long, painstaking drives. So I've tripled up on this football game. First half under 21, full game under 42, and the LA Rams double result. 88 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 5 miles per hour in Nashville, Tennessee, Nissan Stadium. Line history-wise, we'll start with this total. This total is 42 at -116. Look at that. Love to see that. There was a 9-cent move towards the under about 45 minutes ago, about 20 minutes into our show. Gotta like to see that, man. But in saying that, if you wanted to bet this under, which was so easy to do even before week 1, it was a 45.5. And then, it opened up at 43 on Sunday night. So there was ways of handling this better, and I'm aware of that. From a point spread standpoint here, the Rams are -6, but it's at +103. They opened up, the look ahead was 5, and it was, 5 on Sunday. It moved to 6 quite quickly. But now it looks like it's back at 5.5. The 6 right now for the Rams is plus 103. Again, I don't need margin. I'm not looking for margin, and I don't think you're going to get Rams victories by huge margin very often. This is we know the way McVay coaches, and there's certain coaches in the NFL that I just trust implicitly, and he's one of them. We get to the cash flow for this spot here. We have 63% of the tickets and 79% of the cash on the LA Rams. So I'd like to see this line stay around 6 or 6.5, but I don't care if it doesn't. Again, I'm not looking for the margin victory here. 91% of tickets and 94% of cash on the under. Is it extremely public? Yes, it's extremely public. But the books are concerned. And that's all I need. That's all I need. I don't mind being on public side if I see concern from the books. Rams coming off 14-9 victory at home over the Texans to start their season. Stafford 21-29 for 245 yards, touchdown, and no interceptions. Puka Nacua was spectacular, as you have believed in him since his very first game in the NFL. 10 catches for 130 yards. I mean, he took that hit from Toa, and I mean, both him and Devontae Adams took these huge hits and really handled it.
The dude's got to have stitches on his head right now.
He does.
That cut was gashed. I mean, at least super glue. Like, that guy's he's a badass.
There's confirmed stitches in the head. Devontae Adams caught 4 for 51 in his first game in the Rams uniform. Kyron Williams ran 18 times for 66 yards. The offense was 7 of 13 on third down, 2 of 3 in the red zone. The defense looked excellent. They held the Texans to 2 of 9 on third down. They held them to just 1 failed red zone attempt. Get used to this. I love this defense. Pass rush finished with 3 sacks and 7 quarterback hits. Kobe Durant had an interception. Now, there are some issues, and real ones. Right guard Kevin Dotson left with an ankle injury. It's a sprained ankle. He's week to week. He won't play this week. Steve Avila suffered a sprained ankle during the win. He's questionable. So Dotson's out. Avila might still play. Tight end Colby Parkinson suffered a sprained AC joint in the fumble. So he's questionable this week. Titans coming off a 2012 loss at Denver, and Cam Ward's first NFL start. So quarterbacks taken number 1 overall now are 4-15-1 in the common draft era, starting as a season opener. But since 2000, the last 17 quarterbacks taken number 1 overall are 1-15-1. The Titans were outgained 317 to 133, but they were in the game. Ward was 12 of 28 for 112 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. There was not a lot of time to work. He got sacked 6 times, got hit 12 times. Tony Pollard, 18 carries for 60 yards, caught 1 pass for 29. That one catch that Tony Pollard had for 29 yards led all receivers. They only produced 7 first downs. They were just 2 of 14 on third down, 0 of 2 in the red zone. The defense was strong. The Titans managed just 6 points on their 4 takeaways. I mean, you're getting takeaways, you're making big plays, but you need to take advantage of them. They weren't able to do that. But they held the Broncos to 6 of 15 on third down and 1 of 3 in the red zone. And you already touched on Bo Nix's PFF grade. The pass rush finished with 1 sack, but had 5 quarterback hits. Jarvis Brownlee had 9 tackles with 2 coming for a loss. He got hurt in the second half and left the game, but he's not on the injury report. Xavier Woods and Roger McCreary each had interceptions. Running back Caleb Mullins sustained an ankle injury in the first half, and J.C. Latham suffered a hip injury. That's the big one. So he's listed as questionable, but that is the big one. You want, J.C. Latham, it's important for this offensive line that Bill Callahan, Brian's dad, is coaching to stay healthy and insulate Ward as much as possible. This is a triple up spot for me. Under, and Rams double result. Troy Torrence, take it away.
I spent that whole time looking at the under, and I'm absolutely loving it. I moved on it. I got a 42.5.
Oh, nice.
Right now, which is the best number I can get. It's at FanDuel. It's minus 115.
Oh, nice.
Let me add this because just get it out.
Under 42.5 minus 115. Good job getting the hook. I would like that.
So, this is a game where we're looking at a very similar market environment that we had in the Saints-Cardinals game just last week. Home dog open under 6, close 6 or higher. Very favorable trends, not only ATS, but incredible 85% trends on the money line, which means the Rams are a quality teaser leg as well. Obviously, the market subject to change, but I'm trying to figure out what the Titans did in week 1. It's pretty difficult. I mean, only 200 yards of total offense. I know there was some drops, but there was 6 sacks. The offensive line graded out as 32nd overall. The wide receiver group also graded out last in the NFL. And they were up against an elite secondary, but I look at the options that the Titans have at receiver, at tight end, and it does not look like a group that I would want to get behind very often. They're pretty stout defensively, but how good is the Broncos offense? They allowed 5 yards per carry, but really there was just a few explosive plays that are driving that number. 3 players in the secondary graded out top 10. It was good to see Snead back up in the top of the rankings, but he only played not every snap. He wasn't out there as often as he usually is, but he was very good when he was out there. McCrary was good. Woods was good. And Gray was a force in the running game at the linebacker position. So there's some things about this Titans defense that was good. And Cam Ward was in a really tough spot. Elevation, great defense, a bad offensive line, and just a terrible offense altogether. This team is probably going to be better than we expected on defense. I have hope for this offense, but it's really hard to see all these pieces coming together in Cam Ward's rookie season. And on the other hand, Stafford, I mean, this guy's elite, and it was versus an elite caliber defense where he basically didn't make very many mistakes at all. Puka Nacua, number 1 PFF grade. He's a Hall of Famer, elite hands, tough as nails, an unmatched motor, an offensive line that I'm not sure what to expect. I'm not very high on this Rams offensive line. But after capping the rest of the slate and looking at this defense for the Rams, let's talk about this defense because I think that this is one of the best defensive lines we're going to see all season. The coming off the edge is just going to be really hard to handle. And Nate Landman, the rookie, multifaceted player, man. Good in coverage, good in run D. Definitely has a good head on his shoulders. Really aware, seems like, for a rookie. So I moved on the Rams division. So I joined you on the division. Now I got worse odds than you, obviously. I got a plus 190. I also have a Rams Colts teaser. Minus 120. I got the Rams plus 0.5 and the Colts plus 8.5 for minus 120. And I just added the under 42.5. And I'm just sitting there like, God damn it. Do I have to double up on the first half under?
Yeah. This is going to be, I love McVay and Stafford in these spots. On the road, outdoors. I really do. Shout out to our guy BJ in the house. We got Lamont Williams as well. Now, some important points. Wager Detective says McVay 11-16 against the spread regular season playoffs after winning at home next road game. I just think this will be, comfortable. Like I don't know if they end up covering the number. I don't want it. I don't want the 6. I just think the Rams will be in control. They'll be in control. And I was impressed with a lot that I saw of the Titans. I mean, to be in that game, if you look at the Titans' penalties last week, it was just, I think their penalties were for 131 yards and they put up 133 yards of offense. They basically did nothing and were in that football game. And that's a good sign. That means you have intangibles. It means you can do a lot of different things on the football field. But I think we're just in control here. And I just, how many unders have the Rams cashed me over the last few years? It's just over and over and over again. And when they're outdoors, it's a gift. Now, inside, there's times where the score can, if they're forced to fight fire with fire, they will. But they'll also slow a game down to a crawl, get in and out and go home. I'm first half under, full game under, and Rams double result. Troy's on the under 42.5. I only got 42, and I only got 21 on the first half.
Well, it's because that's the best part about having these public books is that, they're going to shade their lines in correlation with the public because they're not. Yeah. Those are public books for a reason, and they shade the lines accordingly.
Yeah, and the under 21.5s in week 1, first half under, I cashed every one of them. And they weren't close. They weren't sweats.
The only one that I didn't cash was the Ravens.
Yeah, but I'm talking about 21.5. That's my number. That's my number.
That's right.
That's such a low number. The public doesn't like betting them, and 21.5 so low. You're like, what? You're not going to see 3 touchdowns? Right. It's just it cashes and it cashes and it cashes again and it cashes with ease, and it's a number I look for and I jump at. So, and especially when you get a 21.5 and the full game's 44.5 or 44, it's a sweet spot for me.
So I have a problem. Here's my problem with it. I guess I could buy a half point if I wanted to, but I don't want to. They're all for one unit. If I could split the unit on under 42.5 and under 21.5, that's probably what I'd preferably do. But the full unit, then it starts grabbing too much weight of my overall action.
Yeah, no, I get it, and it's something I've been very successful with the Canadian Football League this year, and I'm going to move it on into NFL. I've made that decision. I made that decision last week, and I'm going to carry it forward. I'm betting these all full units. I'm not splitting them up on my own either. So, but I hear that, and there's still time to make decisions around it. Troy on the under 42.5. Teaser Rams plus a half. Colts plus 8.5. Let's roll on. And he added the division at plus 190. I got plus 200. We move on. 1 p.m. Eastern. New England Patriots 0-1. First road game of the year. The Miami Dolphins 0-1. First home game of the year. Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. 83 Fahrenheit. Mostly cloudy. 6 miles per hour. McDaniels is not pleased. And he is on the very, very hot seat. Scalding hot seat. Miami is a -1. -106. This opened up at 2.5. The look ahead was 2.5. When it came out, on Sunday night, the 2.5 was at plus 103. So it was probably more of a 2. Then it moved to 1.5. Then it moved to 1. I wish the Patriots looked great. That would make it way more appealing. If the Patriots look great and beat up on Vegas, then this would become much more appealing. I don't want to have money on either of these two football teams in this game. This total is a 44. Look ahead was 45.5. It opened up at 44 after the games were played. We get to the cash flow here. We have 69% of the tickets on New England and 51% of the cash. I know a lot of sharps, Dennis Garcia on Miami. I know sharps on Miami. The books don't seem to care. 73% of tickets on the under, 88% of cash on the under. I don't want to buy low just to buy low. What you're buying can still be shit, even if you get a good deal on it. Patriots coming off a disappointing 2013 home loss in Vrabel's Patriots head coaching debut. Drake May was 30 of 46 for 287 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Kayshon Boutte caught 6 for 103 yards. Hunter Henry caught 4 for 66. Impressive. The running game struggled. I was surprised to see Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, they just didn't give them enough run. I don't know why they weren't running more. Ramondre Stevenson did not look good. He ran 7 times, 15 yards. Travion Henderson ran 5 times for 27 yards. They were just 4-14 on third down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. The defense bent but didn't break. You know that I was very surprised at this number because I was on the over and it lost. They allowed 389 total yards of offense. 389. And they were probably fortunate to only allow 20 points.
That's a Vrabel type of quality right there.
Yeah. Yeah, bend but don't break. And pass rush was strong. Harold Landry had 2.5 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. Team finished with 4 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. Jalen Hawkins had an interception. Dolphins coming off an ugly 33-8 loss at Indianapolis to start the season, and I'm still smiling about it. I still it makes me so happy, Next time I'm at a wedding and I need to smile for a picture, I'll just think of week 1, Colts Dolphins. They were outgained, the Dolphins, 418 to 211. Dolphins had 43 total yards in the first half. Indy ran 43 plays in the first half. Tagovailoa was 14 of 23 for 114 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Also lost a fumble. Zach Wilson came in late, 5 of 8 for 32 yards. Tyreek Hill led receivers with 4 catches for 40 yards. There's real problems with Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle caught 4 for 30. Devon Achane ran 7 times for 55 yards, caught 3 passes for 20 yards and a touchdown. They succeeded in their own 1 red zone attempt, but it was in garbage time. The pass rush that was supposed to be a strong point. I mean, if you look at the players, look at the roster, you think, God, there's a lot of strength there. They did nothing. They were nowhere to be found. 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits. I know that could change quickly. Right guard James Daniels left with a pectoral muscle on Miami's 3rd offensive play. and he's not going to play this week. He's going to be out for a few weeks. He'll probably be on IR. They hadn't put him on IR as of today. Cornerback Storm Duck went to the locker room late on a cart in the first half with a left ankle injury. We didn't get the post-game report, but today it was announced that he's going to miss a couple weeks. So an offensive line that didn't look good loses James Daniels. A secondary that didn't look good loses Storm Duck. Defensive tackle Benito Jones considered week-to-week with no oblique injury. Take it away here for us, Troy. Patriots, Dolphins.
I started thinking about the Dolphins. I started thinking back to Caleb Williams. Similar to how you can't lead a football team with nail polish on your fingers. You can't lead a football team when you're tripping on DMT. I look at McDaniels, I see a guy that's losing grip with reality. That's my opinion, especially just comparing him to his counterparts and his colleagues, the rest of the NFL head coaches. I thought, the Dolphins, I thought they had a high-end roster. Tua's NFL longevity was certainly in question, and the team's cohesiveness is in question. And you look at Tyreek Hill and his response and his demeanor, his body language. He was not voted as team captain. He's whining on the sideline. The Dolphins have a cancer, and it's not getting any treatment. Until it gets treatment, this team is a one-way ticket for me. Obviously, the Dolphins have a better roster than the Patriots do, but Tua should not be playing in the NFL with all the injuries that he's accumulated, especially straight to the head, the back of the head, the worst spot where those concussions keep coming back. I'm shocked. He took a couple hits. I was like, he was definitely, you could tell he's playing football with that on his mind. It's impacting his play. It's impacting the entire team. So you got basically a cancer at quarterback, a cancer, your Hall of Fame wide receiver, and McDaniels, the head coach. I think there's a lot of cancers on this team, especially surrounding the offense. It's come to fruition. And now it's leaking over into the defense because the Dolphins graded out 32nd defensively, 32nd. The run D and the pass rush categories, they were 30th and 32nd respectively. I mean, they were completely exploited by Jones and Steichen. Was it the Colts O-line that was just that good, or the Dolphins D linemen returning from injury just kind of overhyped and just name recognition at this point? That's it. They blitzed on over 50% of their snaps defensively. That's just a sign of complete desperation. Also a sign of lack of trust between coaches and personnel, because when you're blitzing, it really makes your assignment a one-way ticket, not a lot of thinking out there. I don't think that this is a team you could bet on. The Patriots, I mean, they underperformed, but it's reasonable expectation. With the new coaching staff, a second-year quarterback basically having a new first year, still lacking explosiveness offensively. They definitely need Diggs to elevate. They did a great job stopping the run, but they couldn't, and especially in the red zone, they were great, but they couldn't generate any line yards on offense either. There's just these teams around the league that cannot seem to churn out yards on the ground, no matter what they do to the offensive line and the play calling. And that's the Patriots. That's teams like the Browns, teams like the Texans, who just can't seem to generate line yards. So I can't bet this game. I don't have a side in this game. I don't want a horse in the fight, and this is a pass.
Yeah, I agree. I feel similar to I think that the Dolphins, the Lions, the Bengals, those teams that look so horrible in week one, you either bet on them or you leave them off your card, because I don't want to sell any team low, and I won't. I'll just stay off. So I do not want to back the Dolphins. I love that the Sharps have done that. And I'm interested that I find it very interesting that the books don't seem to care. When it's all said and done, I just don't want. It's simple. It's I either back the Dolphins or I don't play. So I won't play. And then in the total scenario, I don't know what the hell we just saw with this Dolphins defense. So I just need to watch the game and see what the hell's going on with Miami, so that we can make a.
And the Patriots, like, where are they really at? We're still trying to figure out. There's two teams we got to figure out.
And we took heat. We took heat for our fate of the Dolphins. Heat in our video cut, and heat thing about But we got the cash, and I also, nice start for the Colts over 7 wins. Remember, that was 7.5 before they decided to go with Daniel Jones at quarterback, and it dropped, and I was able to get a 7. I was very thankful. That's Patriots, Dolphins. We roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, San Francisco 49ers, 1-0. Nice road win in Seattle at the New Orleans Saints, 0-1. Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Of course, the elephant in the room is Brock Purdy. At first, people were thinking that Brock Purdy was not going to be available, and that he was going to be hurt for sure. That is not the case anymore. He could start. Obviously, it's crucial information. He's dealing with toe and shoulder injuries, and he is questionable. So that's obviously the most important factor in this football game is whether Brock will be under center. The total is a 42.5. I think it went down to 41.5. When it was at 41.5, this was minus 116 to the under. And now we're back up to 42.5. I think there's a feeling that Brock could very well be under center in this one, instead of the idea that he was not going to be playing initially. We have the spread with the Niners minus 4.5. The look ahead was 7.5. And then this was 7 before the word came out that, Brock's not going to play. And then it got all the way down to 4.5. Again, I wouldn't put it past them to play. It's crucial information. Shout out to Morgan Spooner in the house. From a cash flow standpoint here, we have 77% of the tickets on San Francisco, but just 56% of the cash, 64% of tickets on the under, and 55% of cash. 49ers coming off a 17-13 win at Seattle to start the season. Purdy was 26 of 35 for 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, while running 5 times for 17 yards. We said in our futures episode, of course, with Brandon Ayuk hurt, that Ricky Pearsall has to be WR1, and he's got to be a monster. He's got to be spectacular. And he was. 4 catches for 108 yards. He did everything that they needed of him, and he seems like the real deal. McCaffrey was listed as questionable. You're just calf in practice earlier in the week. Wasn't sure if he was going to play, and he played. He played well. 22 carries for 69 yards. Caught 9 passes for 73 yards. George Kittle, he's old now. He's elite. When he's healthy, he's spectacular, but he got hurt. He got hurt early. He'd already caught 4 balls for 25 yards and a touchdown. He's now, at first they were like, well, we're not sure. It's 3 to 5 weeks, but no, they put him on the IR. So Juwan Jennings also hurt his shoulder. They say that it appears he's escaped a serious injury, but he's not going to play this week. So you're going to take Kittle out, you're going to take Juwan Jennings out, and you're going to have a banged up Brock Purdy who may or may not be in the lineup. 49ers outgained the Seahawks 384 to 230. They dominated time of possession, 37-58 to 22-02. Salah returned as San Francisco's defensive coordinator. He had the job from 2017 to 2020. The defense was strong throughout. They held the Seahawks to 3 of 10 on third down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. The pass rush was held in check, 1 sack, just 2 quarterback hits. Darnold moved the Seahawks into position to win that game. And that's a problem. When you dominate time of possession and you dominate yards and and they were still, fortunate. They had the ball down to the San Francisco 14 on 2nd and 9. Bosa strip sack Darnold and put the game away. But the Niners also waived Jake Moody. Thank God. How many bets have we lost when Jake Moody's gone to kick a 36-yarder? He missed a 27-yard field goal and he had a 36-yard attempt blocked. So they're working out Eddie Pinheiro. Anything is better than Moody, honestly, at this point, and I feel bad saying that. Saints coming off a 2013 home loss to the Cardinals. They look good. They outgained the Cardinals 315 to 276 in the loss. Spencer Rattler looked good. Better than we expected him to look. 27 to 46 for 214 yards, no touchdowns. Most importantly, no interceptions. He also ran 4 times for 29 yards. He's now 0-7 in his career as a starter. Juwan Johnson caught 8 for 76. Olave caught 7 for 54. And Kamara looked pretty good. Ran 11 times for 45 yards and a touchdown. He caught 2 for 12. The offense looked better than expected, but they were still 5 of 14 on third down, and they went 1 of 4 in the red zone, which is what we're going to expect from them. Now, their defensive pass rush looked better than I expected. Cam Jordan, Carl Granderson looked good. And Cam Jordan this is year 15 for him. He was going to be more of a reserve player, but of course, Chase Young out with a calf injury. God, I hate to have Chase Young on my football team, man. Jordan had a sack and a half. He now has 123. That's tied for 20th on the list. Pete Werner, heart and soul character guy. He led the defense with 9 tackles, 1 sack. Cardinals went 6 of 13 on third down, 2 of 3 in the red zone. Now, there's problems. Safety Julian Blackmon. They think that he suffered a torn labrum. So he's not going to be there for a long time, or for the rest of the year if that's the case. And then their right tackle, Talise Fuaga, went to the sideline with a knee injury in the second half. He is listed as questionable. I don't want to be high on the Saints from what performance in week 1. And I need to know if Purdy is going to play. The Saints feel like the bet, but that bet would become a lot more appealing if Purdy was announced out or Purdy was announced in, and it went to 6 or 6.5 again. Take it away, Troy. Niners Saints.
This was a tough game, in my opinion. It's because all 4 teams that took place between the Saints, the 49ers, and their opponents in week 1, they were all underwhelming. Every single team looked like a shell of what they used to be, especially with the 49ers and the Seahawks. And my 2 notes on this market is if it moves down to 4 or less, buy the home team. If it stays between 4.5 and 6, buy the road team. So I can't speak directly to why I have that note, but I haven't checked this market out. It's because I think it's going to change so drastically over the course of the next few days. Is Brock Purdy going to play? There's all these injuries. And if Brock Purdy does play, is that bad for this offense overall? if he's playing hurt, and I think is it a toe injury he has, Jim?
Toe and shoulder.
Well, as a quarterback, I hear toe, and that immediately sends chills down my spine because I know how tragic toe injuries could be. I have had one myself. I got ligaments and artificial muscles in my toe and all of my foot because I had a devastating toe injury. And it's because I just continue to play on it and through it, and it just snowballs out of control. So I was a receiver. I was digging my toes into the ground every damn play. Quarterbacks are different. But I don't know how healthy he's really going to be. And that's a problem because if he's not healthy, this offense was not – it's just like I said, it looked like a shell of themselves. Brock Purdy's decision-making, even if he is fully healthy, and I don't think he was that last game, but I think his decision-making continues to regress. He looked horrible on play action. Shanahan wants to run play action as much as he possibly can. It's because they couldn't generate any yards on the ground. He's slow to make reads, and I don't know if I could trust this 49ers offense with their injuries and with Brock Purdy potentially very, injured, maybe even out of this game. I think I was leaning with you, Jimmy. I think the Saints are the right side in this game ultimately. The Saints offense, like you said, you talked about their offense a little bit. I think Rattler is definitely not the quarterback that's going to be your long-term quarterback. He's a type C quarterback, meaning you could win with him, but you're not going to win because of him, especially behind this offensive line. He has a bunch of great weapons at receiver and at running back. So they're going to have something on offense. And I think the defense, they're going to be a Saints defense that's competitive. How many times have we watched this defense keep them in games, close games, then all of a sudden, or, the Saints are just hanging around, then all of a sudden they're making a drive to try to win the game or push the game to OT. It's happened at least 6 times over the past 2 years. So I need to learn a lot more about this 49ers team. It looks like a completely brand new team. And I'm looking towards these Saints as well. That's the only way I would look in this game is towards the Saints.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I want Purdy to be announced in. We'll get a better line. I'm not going to take the ass end of it here, even though, a 4.5 and a 5.5. The difference is minuscule, but
But the hope would be getting back to 6.
And AM got a 7, which was spectacular work. Yeah, I'm interested in the Saints. I also I do think that we can sell the Niners high, but it feels like we're buying the Saints high.
It does kind of feel like that.
We do not want to do that. That's the last thing that we want to do. So I'm going to leave question marks around the Saints. Again, if it's Mac Jones, I'll run to bet this under. At 42 and a half.
Jones, we start seeing 4, 3.5. It's a tough game. I'm passing. I'm not going to be betting this game. Probably it's too difficult for me.
I would like I'm interested in the under, but again, I want to know exactly what I'm dealing with. Even if it hurts the number a little bit, at least you want to know what you're getting into. But I wanted the under so bad in Saints Cardinals, but I couldn't do it because the market just kept climbing, and I had to stay off, which sucked because it was such a clear under, and the Saints are going to play unders, and the Saints are playing with a lot of fire, and their defense is pretty good, and they're not going to be able to do shit in the red zone. Radler's just not at that level; he doesn't have that poise yet. So, a lot to hear about with Brock Purdy. Let's roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, the Buffalo Bills started their season in spectacular fashion with the 41-40 comeback victory at home over the Ravens. Huge 4 minutes for them. It was still feels like I saw a car accident. At the New York Jets, who looked quite good. I cashed the +3. But I wanted to see them win the game. We're at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, 73 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 4 miles per hour. We have AM on the Jets +7.5. Resmob, thank you, my friend, for the kind words. It means a ton to us. We have the total here at 46. It's -107 to the over. This opened up at 44. The look ahead was 44.5, and it was basically a 45 or very, very juiced 44.5 come Sunday night. 45.5 to 46, and that's where it is right now. So we're climbing. This total is climbing, and if you watch the Bills play, I guess you could understand why it's climbing. But this is different. I feel like this is a different situation when Buffalo is facing the Jets, and we have the divisional battle. We have the Bills -6.5, -107. It's a very interesting look ahead. Was 8.5. Yeah, the Jets were better than we expected offensively, but this opened up at 7 and it came down to 6.5, which makes the Jets very, very appealing. We take a look at the cash flow for Bills Jets. We have 56% of the tickets, 58% of cash on the Bills, 94% of tickets, and 87% cash on the over, and it's climbing. The Bills come in off the wildest week 1 game I've ever seen in my life. They beat the Ravens 41-40. They put up 497 yards of offense. Josh Allen was spectacular. 33 of 46 for 394 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran 14 times for 30 yards, 2 touchdowns. Keon Coleman caught 8 passes for 112 yards and a touchdown. Khalil Shakir caught 6 for 64. James Cook ran 13 times for 44 yards, caught 5 for 58. The game was won in the red zone. Bills went 5 of 7. Ravens were just 1 of 3. While the offense looked excellent, the defense did not, which is how we capped it. This defense is not good. Pass rush managed 2 sacks and 3 quarterback hits. But look, they overcame a fourth quarter 15-point deficit for just the 3rd time in team history. Josh Allen's the best player on the field, no matter who he plays against. There's no better player in the NFL than Josh Allen. The Jets come in off a heartbreaking 34-32 home loss to their ex-quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jets outgained the Steelers 394-271 in the loss. That sucks. That's such a shitty feeling when you completely outgain your opponent and you lose. Justin Fields looked great in his first game in a Jets uniform. 16 of 22, 218 yards and a touchdown. He also ran 12 times, 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. We all remember what he did last year with Pittsburgh. Those first 3 games, he was an all-pro. Those next 3 games, they had to sit him on the bench. He was so horrible. So he's starting the year really well again. And we're not saying that we're going to see the same thing as last year, but it's important to note. Garrett Wilson caught 7 passes for 95 yards and a touchdown. Breece Hall ran 19 times for 107 yards while catching 2 passes for 38 yards. It was the old Breece Hall. He's in the contract year. He looked really good. Jets were 7 of 14 on 3rd down, 3 of 4 in the red zone. The offense did enough to win this game. So what the hell happened to what we thought was their strong point, their defense? Their pass rush looked good enough, but the defense couldn't get stops. They had 4 sacks and 7 quarterback hits, but they held the Steelers to 4 of 10 on 3rd down, but they allowed them to go 3 for 3 in the red zone. And if you allow a team to go 100% in the red zone, you're likely going to lose that football game. Take it away for us here, Troy. MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, Bills, Jets.
I actually think that this is a great matchup for the Jets. I mean, in week one, they had the number one offense per PFF, and it was pretty clear what was going on there. The Jets' offensive line dominated up front. The Jets wanted to run the football. They had multiple running back options, the reemergence of Breece Hall and Fields, making the dual threat, two-headed monster coming out of the backfield. I mean, that's impressive. You could do a lot of things, different things offensively, especially if your offensive line is solid in front of them. That's what it looks like is going to be reality. Now, can Justin Fields be able to string together multiple starts? Because he was effective through the air as well. He was second in passing grade, third in yards per attempt, and only one turnover-worthy play. He was very impressive, and I don't think I've ever watched him play that good of football. And I think it has a lot to do with the scheme around him and the commitment to the running game and allowing Justin Fields to be part of that. The Jets' defense, I mean, I have major concerns about it, right? And it's kind of confusing because Aaron Rodgers' PFF grade was 28th after week one, which was surprising. Supposedly, he was the beneficiary of some good play design and yards after catch because I don't know what that grade comes with. There's still more to unpack there, but the third lowest ADOT in week one. The defensive front was pretty good across the board, and Sauce graded out as the best cornerback in the league, but everybody else had a flunking grade. The linebackers were the most surprising to me because Quincy, I thought he would be a dog this season. Once perceived as an all-star, is now below average. Same with Tony Adams, Brandon Stevens, guys who we used to think were credible, competent players, looked absolutely terrible. The Jets blitzed at a 40% clip, which I don't think that makes much sense at all versus a veteran quarterback. I don't think you want to opt to blitz a guy like that, and that's why he had a low ADOT, because he was just able to dump the ball off as much as he possibly could, and they just continued to blitz him. And the Bills, we know the story with the Bills. Great offense. Josh Allen is absolutely incredible. They're only great because of Josh Allen. The offense is only great because of Josh Allen, and terrible defense, particularly against run-heavy offenses, and I think that's what we're going to see here. The Bills weren't road favorites of more than 5 points last season, and I think that's because it reflects poor defensive play. I look at this 7-ish point spread, and I'm like, the Bills are going to be in every teaser, money line parlay. Everyone's going to want the Bills after what we just seen. I really believe that to be true. And I'm going to be on the Jets. I don't want to have an overreaction to what the Jets offense did in week one, but I see it as being a sustainable offense and a sustainable offensive scheme, especially versus a tiny defensive front like the Bills have. I bet the Jets +7 -115.
It's a good bet. That's a good bet. I think the Jets can be in this football game. I think it's a lot of points to have in your pocket.
And Birdie, I agree with what Birdie's saying. It is Ravens-esque. It's Ravens-esque because of how they're running it with the RPO and the read option combined. Some designed runs, some designed, with the pass involved. And that's tough to defend, especially if Justin Fields can execute the right way.
I wonder how much it's going to cost for a 7. Not that it's that important. I'd be fine with a 6.5, but out of curiosity, it's not too expensive. I'm interested. I'm interested in joining you. I want this in my pocket. I don't see how this doesn't close at 6. I don't. This isn't going to. I don't. I mean, there'll be public money that comes in on Buffalo on Sunday, but 56% of tickets, 58% of cash on Buffalo. I think that's very telling. Coin talking about that defensive line for Buffalo. That pass rush is small. Yeah, I think
linebackers, I feel like, is the biggest problem, because if they get any action in front of them where their defensive line doesn't create any space between them, getting any drive on the defensive front, it just gets pushed back into them. And if you're not big enough, not tall enough, not wide enough to get around it and to see it, and you could tell it's a problem, they lose backs behind big bodies. Even big backs like, Derrick Henry.
If this total goes up and away, I'm probably going to look to try to get underneath it. It might. I'm not going to double up. I might just focus on the first half only. But I would like to go up against what we just saw. I mean, do we believe like these two teams combined to put up 73 points last week? I would like to go up against that. I certainly would not double up against it, but I am going to be keeping an eye on the under, and the first half under would be the one that would appeal to me the most. So I'm going to keep an eye on all that. Oldie says his first look was at Jets when he was running his data. BJ says he has this line close to 5 and 6. All right, and my dude still thinking that he's going to get over that 5.5 future. Yeah, I mean, you should be very pleased with what you saw. The problem is they should have won that football game, and then would you be happy if you had the Browns season win total over? I mean, they look good, but they just, you have to win these football games. You have to win these close games, and they did not do that. Troy on the Jets +7 at -115. I may join him this evening. It'll be more expensive for me. I may join them. Let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern, the Seattle Seahawks 0-1 at the Pittsburgh Steelers 1-0. We're at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 74 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 3 miles per hour. Steelers feel good about themselves, and they shouldn't. And I want to fade them. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have a total of 40.5. Do you want Mike McDonald near to on a West Coast team on the East Coast at 1 p.m.? Probably not. So I would have to get talked into this. This total opened up at 41.5. Now it's a 40.5, and it's juiced to the under. The look ahead was 41.5, so maybe that doesn't count. Maybe this opened up at 40.5, after the games had played. So maybe that's more of what it was. I don't feel like there's been a big movement there. And then on the spread here, we have Seattle +3 at -108. I don't like that. This opened up at the look ahead was 2.5. And as soon as the games were over, this 2.5 got juiced. And I can explain all this. Look, I don't think Darnold's going to have a good season. I was shocked to read the PFF grades of Walker and to a lesser extent Charbonnet because I've watched them. And they were way worse this last year than they were the year before. Like and their running game didn't look good. Darnold didn't look good. It shouldn't surprise anybody. What we've seen from Kevin O'Connell is he might be the best coach in the National Football League. That's what we've seen from him. And him and Wes Phillips have something special going on. And they transferred that over to Sam Darnold. And they transferred that over to J.J. McCarthy in the second half. They put their players in positions to succeed. I don't know if these, we're expecting a lot from Clint Kubiak. We're expecting a lot from Mike McDonald. Are we going to get these things that we expect from them? So we've had the half-point move towards Pittsburgh, but we can explain it. Pittsburgh looked 70% tickets, 80% cash on Pittsburgh. Again, I would need to get kind of talked into this here. So we have Seahawks coming off a disappointing 17-14 home loss to the Niners, outgained 384 to 230. Darnold finished 16-23 for 150 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Again, he moved the Seahawks into a position to win the football game, but he was strip sacked. And we've seen that happen before. He was, Pro Bowl type quarterback last year. Smith-Njigba caught 9 passes for 124 yards. Well, that's great. But the rest of the team combined for 7 catches for 26 yards. That's not going to cut it. You can double Smith-Njigba if you have good enough corners and completely shut him down. Seattle had 4 3-and-outs, 2 in each half. They averaged 3.2 yards per carry. Their longest run of the entire football game was not from Charbonnet. It was not from Kenneth Walker. It was a 9-yard scramble by Darnold. That's how bad this running group was. And that's what I saw last year with my eyes. But again, you read the PFF grades and you believe them.
And how about this? That's just the running game. What about the passing game? Only 1 catch for more than 10 yards?
The other players not named Smith-Njigba caught 7 balls for 26 yards. But I think this is a very intelligent young coaching staff. Whether or not they're ready to really lead their team into a postseason type situation, I'm not certain of. But I think that they're very capable of bouncing back. And Charbonnet was okay. He ran 12 times for 47 yards and a touchdown, but Kenneth Walker, 10 carries for 20 yards. Seattle offense was 3 of 10 on third down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. The pass rush had 1 sack. They did have 8 quarterback hits. Ernest Jones, Josh Jobs each had interceptions. The defense bent but didn't break. This is a problem. They allowed the Niners to go 9 of 16 on third and fourth down. It's hard to back a team that can't step up in the most important defensive situations, even if they don't. If they handle the red zone well and things of that nature. They held the Niners to 2 of 5 in the red zone. They did lose Emin Ward, their safety. Nick Emin Ward, he sustained an ankle injury in the first half, and it's a high ankle sprain, so he's week to week. Aaron Rodgers' era in Pittsburgh started with a bang, man. 34-32 win over his old team, the Jets. 22 of 30 for 244 yards, 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. So he joins Tom Brady for the most games in NFL history with at least 4 touchdown passes and no interceptions at 28. DK Metcalf led receivers with 4 catches for 83 yards. I was impressed with him. Calvin Austin caught 4 passes for 70 yards and a touchdown. The running game struggled. Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell did not look good. They combined for 56 yards on 18 carries. But the Steelers were a perfect 3 for 3 in the red zone. But the defense just struggled. The Jets outgained the Steelers 394-271. The Steelers struggled mightily with the Jets' ground game. They allowed them to put up 182 yards on the ground. The pass rush had 1 sack and 6 quarterback hits, but they allowed the Jets to go 7 of 14 on third down. They allowed the Jets with Justin Fields at quarterback to go 3 of 4 in the red zone. Now, we know Boswell is the best kicker in the NFL, draining a 60-yard career-long field goal, 103 remaining, and by margin. I mean, that would have connected at 68 or 69 yards. Deshaun Elliott, their safety and linebacker Malik Harrison both left with knee injuries. All Tomlin said was they're being evaluated. And Joey Porter Jr. had hamstring tightness, and the team shut him down. That's what I said. We shut him down. So I don't expect Joey Porter to play in this one, but they're all 3 are listed as questionable. Take it away for us here, Troy. Seahawks, Steelers, Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I want to dive into the Seahawks offense because one thing that I know of Sam Darnold is, especially when he was last year, let me pull this up so I can speak to it verbatim. This past game, he had 2 dropbacks, 2 attempts from a play-action pass. That's 7% of his dropbacks. Last year, under O'Connell in Minnesota, 28% of his dropbacks were from play-action, and he was one of the best passers, had the best passer rating, and second best offensive grade in the NFL last year off of play action. That's where he found all the success. So what do this offensive staff do? I think they're very smart and intelligent too, but how do you not cater to that? And it's not like the Vikings. I know they couldn't run the ball effectively this past game, and obviously it won't work as well. But it's not like the Minnesota Vikings had an elite rushing attack last year where they finished 25th in yards per carry, and he was still successful in the play action passing game. So they got to incorporate that somehow. It takes so much pressure off the offensive line, which we know is not that good in Seattle. It takes so much pressure off of Sam Darnold, clearly, because I bet you if we even take this a few years back, that play action is where he's excelled. And I know it's at least in this past 4 seasons now. So they got to figure out, they got to do something different offensively. They do have some weapons out there. Let's see if this young coaching staff could cater to them. I have a problem with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know what I could expect. But I do think that they're better than what they showed last week. The defense, I thought that they were better than they showed last week as well. It didn't appear overwhelming in any way, shape, or form. Only 1 pressure that resulted in a sack. The defensive line, I mean, is it overrated now? With Lawrence and Leonard Williams, I mean, we're aging pretty quickly. Ernest Jones still an absolute dog, and the Seahawks defense will be fine. So I don't know. That's my problem. I think the Seahawks defense, both the offense and defense, underperformed last week. So we should expect them to take a big step forward this week. The Steelers, I think we're going to see different movement from their offense and defense. The Steelers offense clearly overperformed, walked into a great game plan against a scheme that caters to Aaron Rodgers as an old age, like just being able to quick read, quick dumps, low A dot, and attack. So I think there's some things you could do as a defensive coordinator to fix that up, to not allow that to happen, to take away the short game, and then force him to pass it downfield, because I don't feel like he has that many options outside of DK Metcalf, who actually showed up this past week. I just can't imagine that this offense that we've seen is repeatable. especially with this offensive line, an aging quarterback, a lot of production that came from Yak, which you have to give credit to Aaron Rodgers and the receivers. The offense is not repeatable. It's Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to be a high-flying offense. I will be completely shocked if they did that again. I think it was the biggest shock to me in week 1 was that they put up 34 points against any NFL team. And the defense, outside of their pass rush, which graded out above average, they failed miserably. I don't know what to expect of this defense anymore. Porter Jr. earned the worst cornerback grade in PFF in all week 1. Darius Slay, I think he was let go for a reason. 35 years old, his skill level's dropping. If I were a Pitt fan, I'd be deeply concerned about what happened last week. They only allowed 30-plus points one time last season, and it was against the Ravens. They just allowed it to the Jets, and it was a real ass whooping that offense delivered this defense. So I don't know what to expect from the defensive side of the ball either, but obviously it's the Steelers defense. I expect them to progress. So honestly, I want to take the Seahawks. I don't think the market is necessarily telling me that that's the side. The Seahawks are past, especially considering that Steelers are going to be a public team. And in week 2, the public gets crushed on these home favorites.
Yeah, I want the Seahawks. I also want the under, but I think that I'm dealing with a vividness bias. And as you mentioned, this Steelers defense has problems. And, when you were talking about, are we overrating the pass rush? I thought you were talking about the Steelers at first. You're right with the Seahawks, but are we overrating the Steelers pass rush? For so long they've been so dominant. They certainly did not look dominant. They did not look good.
And there's times last year it was the same deal, wasn't it, Jim? Do you remember having this type of conversation last year about this defense?
I was saying it. In the second half of the year. Yeah, I was saying it over and over again. I was like, look, don't believe we have the bias in our head of them being monsters. But we had the statistical proof. We don't have that quite yet. They played the 1 game, 1 sack, 6 quarterback hits. I mean, the Seahawks pass rush had 1 sack and 8 quarterback hits. I want the under because everybody's going to think about how many points the Steelers put up, and the Seahawks are just not going to play that way. We know Mike McDonald, coach football team, is probably going to be a defensive-oriented team. I also think that Sam Darnold is extremely upset at getting strip sacked. He's got to be more aware, especially in crunch time. So I want the under and I want the Seahawks, but I'm not betting them tonight. It's interesting. AM believes that this will close. That this will move to 2.5 despite all the money on the Steelers. I'd like to see a sign of that happening. But yeah, I would like the Seahawks here. I would like the Seahawks here. I think it's a buy low opportunity on the Seahawks and a sell high opportunity with the Steelers. And I could be wrong on this game, but doing that overall, my ROI, I believe, will be positive. And I do want the under. I want this market to marinate. I want more action to come in. I want to see where it goes. But those are the 2 spots I'm looking at, Seahawks and under. And I expect to get involved. Like, I'm not just saying that. I expect to get involved. Troy, do you want to touch on anything here before we move on to our next game?
No, it's going to be Seahawks or pass. I might also get involved, but I'm not certain.
We roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, the Cleveland Browns 0-1. First road game of the year. The Baltimore Ravens 0-1. M&T Bank Stadium. In Baltimore, Maryland, Charm City. Shout out to Von Polo, all our Baltimore Cappers. 77 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 5 mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history here for this, man. I really thought that we were going to see a very happy Ravens team against a very angry Browns team, but now they're just both angry. There's totals of 45.5. It opened up, the look ahead was 44.5. But once the games were played, it was a 45.5. It's minus 114 to the under. We get to the point spread here for this one. We have let's grab it here. We have Baltimore minus 11.5. That's great because we told TJ that 12.5 on our Sunday night live stream that 12.5 was a great line, that we didn't expect him to get better than that. And then the Ravens go ahead and lose, and this is a 13 or 13. Now it's an 11.5, and TJ can be comfortable with his 12.5. This was a 13.5, so we've gone down 2 points. Very, very, very interesting. So we have the move now finally towards the Browns, and then the total kind of stagnant, a slight move towards the under. Browns coming off as heartbreaking of a loss as I've seen in a long time. They outgained the Bengals 327 to 141. Bengals had 7 yards of offense in the second half, fewest yards in the second half by a winning team in the last 25 years. Andre Schmidt won the kicking competition from Dustin Hopkins in the preseason. Wide right on an extra point after Cedric Tillman's 5-yard TD reception. And that put Cleveland up just 16-14. And then wide right again on the potential go-ahead field goal with 2:25 remaining in the game. Joe Flacco was excellent. 31 to 45, 290 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Neither of those should have been interceptions. They both bounced off his receivers' hands. I've never seen him, when he leaves the pocket, I'm always worried that he's just going to get destroyed. But this was the smoothest I've seen him leaving the pocket. He didn't even look that ludicrously slow. I mean, he certainly didn't look fast, but he was just in control. He moved out of the pocket. He looked so good. I cannot believe I'm saying that about him, but he looked really, really good. Jerry Jeudy caught 5 passes for 66 yards, but that drop on 4th down, good God, Jerry Jeudy, you can't do that. Now he bounced back with a couple catches, but he can't do that. You nailed Harold Fannin Jr. with your prop bet. You gave it out on NFL Pub, 3rd round pick out of Bowling Green. He looked excellent. And as expected, the Browns running game struggled, but we didn't see Quinshon Judkins. He's expected to be activated next week. He missed training camp in the preseason and stayed unsigned following that arrest in Fort Lauderdale on charges of domestic assault and battery. So Cleveland was granted a 2-game exemption in which the running back wouldn't count towards the 53-man roster. But all the charges against Judkins have been dropped. So the NFL is still looking into it. But Dylan Sampson ran 12 times to 29 yards, the 4th round pick. He got the run. Now, he didn't look very good on the ground, but he caught 8 passes for 64 yards. That's a weapon. Jerome Ford ran 6 times for 8 yards. Put him out to pasture, man. Just let Jerome Ford go. Move forward with Sampson and Judkins. The Browns were very impressive. 9 of 16 on 3rd down and 2 of 3 in the red zone. Myles Garrett was excellent. 2 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss. Overall, the pass rush had 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. And they this is the interesting part. They completely shut the Bengals down. But since he was still 7 of 14 on 3rd down and 2 of 3 in the red zone, offensive tackle Jack Conklin suffered an eye injury. We're not entirely sure what the extent of it. He is on the injury report. And the Browns have questions at left tackle. DeJuan Jones made the full-time position switch. We have Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, and Ethan Pocic, who are very solid vets, but we need to know if Jack Conklin is going to be in the lineup. Look, the Browns come in off heartbreak. The Ravens come in off heartbreak. I mean, it's just they were attempting to avenge their 27-25 loss in the divisional round, and instead they opened up this fresh new wound. A big shout out to AOD in the house. Thank you so much for the dono. Just my 2 cents back from the WCS main event. Cash with Asplum plus 148. And Donut Silk says Cash Fannin and passed it out to the homies. Says thanks, Troy. I love that you did Donut Silks. And Donut Silks, who knows this Cleveland team inside and out, says Garrett played lights out and some new the new linebacker looked good too. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
But here with the Ravens, they lost a game in which they scored on 7 of their first 8 possessions. I mean, I've never said that out loud. The Bills erased a 15-point deficit in the final 4 minutes. I mean, it's just nuts. Baltimore became the first team in NFL history to lose when scoring 40 or more points and rushing for 235 yards or more. No team's ever done that in the history of the sport. Lamar Jackson was 14-19 for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers caught 7 for 143 in a touchdown. Derrick Henry ran 18 times for 169 yards, but he lost the fumble with 3:06 left. And he went into the locker room and said, "This is on me. It's my fault." That fumble helped set off a chain of events that culminated in the devastating loss. The Ravens defense got picked apart when it mattered most, and the pass rush was non-existent. 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. The Bills put up 497 yards on the Ravens. Like, nobody is saying, oh, the Bills didn't deserve it or anything like that. It was just shocking. That's all. We're all just shocked. The Bills outgained the Ravens. The Ravens had a costly fumble. Josh Allen's the best player on the field. The Bills deserved to win that game. They won that game. Baltimore couldn't stop Buffalo in the red zone. Buffalo went 5 of 7. And Tyler Loop made 2 field goals, but missed an extra point. And it was a very costly extra point. Of course, Tucker released in the offseason after he was accused of inappropriate sexual behavior by massage therapists. I remind you of anybody? Take it away. Not me. I'm not implying myself. Take it away, Troy. Browns, Ravens.
Oh, there's a lot to get into here. There's a lot to unpack. So first of all, with this market, you see this market move towards the home favorite 75% of the time. So if you're looking to bet the Browns, I would recommend waiting and holding on as long as you possibly can, because the last 5 games in this sample moved across 13. The last 5 games moved across 13 one day or less before Sunday. So before kickoff, I should say. So in division, home favorites in this price range, the road teams cashing 65% of the time. I mean, this is a market where in division, it definitely favors the road dog, favors the over. So immediately I want to start looking towards the Browns. But how can I bet against a Ravens team that's got to be pissed off over that last game? It happens to teams. You've seen it happen to the Bears. There's teams that blow these massive leads late because I don't want to call it prevent defense, but they're playing a bend but don't break type of defense. And when you got a quarterback like Josh Allen, you just simply cannot do that. You cannot afford to do that, allow him to stay in the game, because one mistake, he's going to take advantage. He did, and he buried him. The Browns, I thought the offense looked solid, especially based on what we've seen last year. Obviously, Flacco is going to elevate this offense immediately, and we've seen that right away. But the offensive line still can't generate yards in the running game. They're not going to have any longevity or long-term success if they can't do that. I was hoping this offensive line would somehow miraculously come back to where they were in 2022, 2023, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. We shall see, though, because it was only 1 week. The Ravens offense is exactly what we thought. I mean, they match up well with the Browns, too. I watched this tape now 2 years in a row because I was betting the Browns quite a bit over the past few years. And I was taking L's in this matchup, and I was wondering why. Well, it's because they take advantage of Myles Garrett's aggression. They're reading him in the RPO, in the read option game, and exposing him for getting too far upfield on running plays. A simple draw, like I think they run draw versus the Browns, only versus the Browns, specifically to target Myles Garrett, getting too far upfield and really trying to keep him on his heels. So I don't like the matchup, honestly, for the Browns' style of defense versus this Ravens team. I think the Ravens are going to find success. And based on what we just seen with the Ravens, how can we not expect the Browns to pull off some points? We know the Browns were moving the football. I don't think that they're going to be very strong in the red zone, especially if they can't run the ball. So I don't know exactly what to expect out of them. But I do lean towards the Browns. This is a big number. I'm at a loss for words because I really do want to move on the Browns, but I just can't move because I think this Ravens team is fully capable of putting a 30-point whooping on the Browns.
I fear it too,
because we're not talking about we're talking about the Ravens offense. I mean, how are they going to be able to compete? They're going to be able to put up points.
We were telling TJ to bet the 12.5 because we thought the Ravens were going to win the football game comfortably, and if that had happened, I'd be on the 12.5 too.
Right.
There's no doubt in my mind that number's too big, and that in a regular situation, it's heaven to back the Browns. There's no doubt in my mind that any model that you put the players into will tell you to bet the Browns.
Oh, I got to talk about him because I think it was Donut Silks. He said brought him up. Schweisinger, their linebacker. I'm going to make the call right now. I'm getting the feeling like he's going to be an absolute dog in this league. I called it with Puka. Maybe I know receivers a little bit more, but what I've seen from this guy, Schweisinger, between coverage, his technique in the box, his ability to not overrun, but have enough speed to catch up and have the angle. He was the most impressive defensive player, in my opinion, in the entire NFL.
I don't usually have compassion for, like, I like the history of losing. I never wanted the Cubs or the Red Sox to win the World Series.
You're savage for that.
I never did. I loved it. I remember where I was when Bartman caught that ball and Lou was losing his mind. I was like, I loved it. I ate it up.
I'll never forget that day. I
never forget it either. But I don't have compassion for lose because I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan. I want every fan base to lose. I don't cheer for Canadian hockey teams. I want them all to lose. I want everybody to lose. And yet this one I felt really bad for all of the pain that the Browns fans have felt. This one I had compassion for. But I'm not an angry Ravens team can pick their number. A happy Ravens team can be messed with. And so I am off of this spot. Deacon Mike, it is great to see you. I promised you that the Bears hat won't come back. Look, I'm off the game. I'm also uncomfortable with the total. I think that probably the right bet is Cleveland team total over. I'd like to see where the line goes, but even if the Ravens, go up 30-7, they'll let go a little bit. Flacco can put up some points. I'm not forcing myself to get involved because you don't want to poke a bear, and this bear is the Baltimore Ravens to me. But the Browns team total over does interest me here. Donut Silk says, I've lived through so much, this shit barely even hit me. All I said was glad I'm not at the game. I mean, that's sounds like a Canuck fan. Sounds like a Canuck fan. I love you, Donut Silks. I love cabin with you, man. But my heart did go out to the Browns fans, man. Excuse me. All right. Let's roll on. We hit the afternoon action, 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Denver Broncos at Indianapolis Colts. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. I almost already moved on the unders, and I stopped myself. And I may still get there, but I was like, you know what? I'll talk this one out. I came close to this. Will be a double up on the unders as well. If I move on, it wouldn't be just a solitary bet. We have a total right now at 42. This opened up. The look ahead was 44.5. It was like a 43 on Sunday. Now it's a 42. I do see some books that I really respect, some sharp books that are at 42.5. Just slightly juiced to the under. And I find that quite interesting. This is a 42 here right now. We have the side here. Let's move over to the side. I mean,
that's where I'm interested. What do you see in here?
Let's take a look. From a spread perspective, we have Indianapolis. I guess it's a 1.5, but I'm looking at 2.5. The look ahead was 3.5. Then this quickly became a 2 and then got up to 2.5, but it's so juiced to the Colts. Like if you wanted to back Denver minus 2.5, it's plus 108. So it's either a 2 or a 1.5. I simply can't bet the Colts after we were so right and the Broncos look bad. But I want to, obviously. 56% of tickets, 65% of cash on the Colts, 83% of tickets on the under, 87% of cash on the under. I feel bad for anybody who wants the Colts here and wasn't on them last week. It just feels like, you're late to the party and early to the funeral. Broncos coming off an underwhelming 2012 victory at home over the Titans. They outgained the Titans badly, 317-133. But Bo Nix did not look good. 25-40, 176 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. He also lost a fumble. Cortland Sutton caught 6 for 61, touchdown. Troy Franklin 4 for 44. And here's the big thing. Evan Ingram had 3 catches for 21 yards before he left with an ankle injury. If you saw the clip of him, he threw his helmet in the fourth quarter down. He walked off the field, threw it down in disgust, threw it down like he's going to miss time. He's listed as questionable. The reason to keep a close eye on that injury is Denver's tight ends last year were a league worst. They posted a league worst 48 receiving grade. Now, we know that J.K. Dobbins is he can be a workhorse if he can stay healthy. And, he's a journeyman, okay back. But R.J. Harvey had 70 yards on 6 carries. And if he can be the guy, then that will help this offense very, very much. They were just 6 of 15 on third down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. The defense was excellent. Allowed the Titans to pick up 7 first downs, just 7. Held them to 6 points on the 4 takeaways. That's impressive. Held the Titans to 0-2 in the red zone. Pass rush was very strong. 6 sacks, 12 quarterback hits. And Dre Greenlaw is listed as questionable to go this week. So that's an important person to keep an eye on. Daniel Jones' career as a Colt got off to a great start. 33-8 victory at home over the Dolphins. He's the first quarterback to lead a scoring drive on every possession since 1991. He went 7 for 7. Week 1 marked the first time a Daniel Jones-led team scored on every first half drive. In his 70 NFL starts, he's never done that. And they would go on to score on every drive. It was very, very impressive. They outgained the Dolphins 418 to 211. Jones finished 22 of 29 for 272 yards, touchdown, no interceptions. He also ran 7 times for 26 yards and 2 touchdowns. He earned his first win as a starting quarterback since last October 6th for the New York Giants. Michael Pittman caught 6 passes for 80 yards, touchdown, and Tyler Warren. I mean, we talked a lot about Tyler Warren in our future show. 7 catches for 76 yards. Jonathan Taylor ran 18 times for 71 yards, caught 3 for 27, but they were just 3 for 6 in the red zone. Lou Anarumo, sometimes you need a new surroundings. Get excited again. Now you have to prove yourself again. He came within 6.5 minutes of pitching a shutout. That would have been their first shutout since December 2021. Look at all the people who helped. I mean, obviously I'm high on the Colts. You guys know I took their win total over. I took them week 1, but Cam Bynum. Now, Cam Bynum is a little banged up, but Cam Bynum intercepted the pass. New safety Cam Bynum intercepted the pass. New cornerback Xavier Howard recovered a fumble. New kicker Spencer Schrader made all 4 of his field goals. Pass rush had 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. Secondary was excellent. Bynum, Latu had interceptions as well as Bynum. They only gave the Dolphins 1 opportunity in the red zone. Now, Jalen Jones, their cornerback, suffered a non-contact injury. Left hamstring. He left the first half, did not return. But that wasn't the story that took me by surprise. Yesterday, out of nowhere, Charvarius Ward. This was actually, I didn't find out about this till today, but I think some people knew about this last night. He's in concussion protocol. And these are the bad ones. The concussion protocol, when you play the whole game, you wake up on Monday and something's wrong. So I don't think Charvarius Ward is going to play. So you take Charvarius Ward out. You have Jalen Jones out. That changes things a bit. Take it away for us here, Troy. The Colts, after glory, face an angry Broncos squad. Lucas Oil Stadium.
Rarely do we see this type of market. Very rarely, and I know it depends on what the reopen or when you're going to measure this line from, but we don't see a lot of 3.5s. Very few. 2-3 game sample, 3.5 going through 3 down to 2.5. And it reminds me of the inverse of what happened with the Jaguars last week. An outlier market usually nets outlier results. And I think this might be one of those situations. I've talked about wanting to fade these +1, +2 home favorites, but none of those went through 3. None of those. So it's a little bit different of a situation. I think it's an outlier type of market. That makes me want to get involved. And on the Colts side, because that's the way the line is moving. The Colts offense was incredible. I mean, we know Steichen was an elite play caller. I think we're going to see that come to fruition this year. I think about, is this a repeatable offense that they put on the field, and how could you not? I mean, 6 yards per play scoring on every drive. The consistency was evident, in my opinion. And Daniel Jones, I feel sorry for New York Giant fans after watching what he's doing right now, because he ran Shane Steichen's vision to a T. Play action. They led the NFL in pass yards in week 1 off of play action, the second most attempts after our guy Jordan Love. RPO led the NFL in both passing attempts and passing yards from the RPO and the play action. You're just going to see a lot of motion, a lot of misdirection, play action, RPO, a lot for a defense to have to prepare for. Broncos defense has been great. I'm going to get to them in a second. The Colts defense, I think I'm way more confident what we've seen offensively. I know there's some lingering injuries. These guys might not be playing. We'll see what happens. Travarius Ward, I think that this line currently reflects Travarius Ward being in, but I find that hard to believe.
He's not going to be in.
He's out, you're saying, for sure.
I mean, no, I can't say for sure. It would be irresponsible for me to do that, but I find it very, very hard to. This is the worst one. The one where you're like, they pulled him out of the game. Then he wakes up the next morning, he starts feeling better, starts going through protocol. But when you show up Monday and you're like, something's wrong with me.
I mean, this is the most juiced the line has been. I feel like that would have came back a little bit, maybe not. Maybe I'm over-grading how important Travarius Ward is. Do I know more than the book? So if he's going to be out, this line continues to move towards the Colts. Should I be more bullish or less bullish? I mean, it's really tough to say. I don't know. Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner absolutely blew up the interior offensive line multiple times. We know the Dolphins' offensive line isn't very good. The Broncos' offensive line is much better. But Latu posted a 92 overall PFF grade on the edge. 3 defensive backs grade out top 15 in their position. And I think the Broncos are an easier matchup and easier to prepare for than the Dolphins, especially they get to stay at home. Broncos coming off a win have to travel to Indianapolis. And if you watch this Broncos team, I know you don't want to overreact to week 1. I get it. But Bo Nix, he had a terribly low ADOT, second lowest ADOT in the league, putting the ball in danger multiple times in the game. Graded out 32nd, the worst grade in both a clean pocket and a dirty pocket when he's getting pressure. Maybe Bo is due for a sophomore slump. We've seen it before. We've seen it more recently. It becomes more and more prevalent. And all this terrible play from Bo Nix behind an offensive line that graded out 3rd for PFF. So take it for what it's worth. And then I start to think about this Broncos defense. And this goes back to me diving into the Broncos even further after our futures show, because you were pretty bullish on this Broncos team coming into the season.
I knew it public, though. I knew that those 9.5s juiced to the over were very public. And I went with the Rams and I went with the Broncos. I know the Rams weren't nearly as public as the Broncos, but I wouldn't say bullish because I feared this. This was the only one where I said, okay, I understand this is public. I understand I could be walking into a trap, but I have to believe in this roster. Yeah. I wouldn't say bullish, but sorry to interrupt.
I've seen one I think it was Action Network put out a post where they talked about all the teams that have been in the same range as the Broncos EPA per play defensively over the past 20 years showed massive regression in the following season. I kind of expect that to come this year for the Broncos defense. Even if you look back at the data points that they posted last year, well, first let's start with the first game of the season. They went 1-0, but they didn't cover, and they looked pretty bad against the bottom of the barrel offense and defense. We'll see what the Titans defense becomes. But I think the Colts are every bit as good as that Titans defense. So how's that going to look with Bo on the road now against a highly motivated team after being embarrassed multiple seasons? Then you look last season, they only beat one playoff team. They beat Tampa Bay in the second week of the season, something like that. They beat Kansas City in the 18th week when Kansas City sat everyone down and the Broncos were laying 15 points on the road. So they only beat one playoff team last year. And it was a Bucs team who is very volatile. And how did they do versus quality offenses last year? Cincy put up 30 points on them. The Chargers put up 34 points on them. The Ravens dropped 41 points on them. They did hold the Chiefs to 16 points. And they hold the Bucs to 7 points. So they had 2 good performances, 3 absolutely, where they got destroyed. So I believe the Colts probably fall somewhere in between there because obviously the Chiefs offense wasn't elite. It's a quality offense, but it's definitely not elite. I believe this Colts team is better coached. I think they're significantly better on the offensive side of the ball. And I think the defenses are closer than perceived by the public. I am not as concerned about moving on this spot because I know that it's going to be up against a lot of action on this Broncos team. I'm on the Colts 3 ways. I tripled up. I got the Colts money line plus 116. I got the Colts plus 2.5 minus 110. Both of those were at FanDuel. which tells me that if I'm getting a better price at FanDuel than I'm at Pinnacle, it's pretty telling. And then the Colt, I got that teaser that I talked about earlier with the Rams and the Colts plus 8.5.
Wow. Well, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't buy high and sell low. I don't think I need to move on the Broncos, but I can comfortably bet the first half under and full game under. I think this Broncos defense is better than it was last year, roster wise. Again, the regression fears with how good they were last year.
20 years, not one team improved defensively.
Yeah, no, that's a concern. It's certainly a concern. I also think that teams didn't fear the Broncos at all last year, and now there's a different sentiment when you play them. In saying that, I wanted the unders. The unders make sense to me. I think that Bo Nix's sophomore slump is a real possibility here, and I can only look to the Broncos, and I'm not, and I don't want to. I guess that's a problem. I'm not done though. I'm not done, but I kind of again, you guys know I want in all these spots all year long. I'm only going to try to buy low and sell high, and this is an opportunity to do that. In saying that, I don't have to. I think I'm going to have enough action here on the card, but it will be moving on the under, and I will have to double up on the under. I think this is going to be the chess match of the week with Steichen versus Payton. I think they're really, really going to be trying to press the other buttons. I think that we know what the Broncos defense is capable of. No fly zone, secondary. I mean, even against a pretty sturdy offensive line, 6 sacks and 12 quarterback hits for the Broncos. We know the Colts have a very strong offensive line. It's going to be more.
He held on to the ball longer than any quarterback in week 1.
Who did?
Cam Ward.
Wow. Well, and we saw.
But I mean, it's to be expected when you got great defensive backs guarding your receivers and they're locked up because they were. Nobody was. It's not like people were running open. The Broncos defense, I'm not trying to slight them, so I don't want to make it seem that way. And it's not like I'm super confident in backing the Colts in this spot based on what happened last week. But at the same time, I cannot fight what's happened historically in this market, and I cannot fight what I believe the Colts and the Broncos are.
No, I hear that. I completely hear that. I just, obviously, you know what I'm going to say. I just fear at what point you're getting in on the Colts. But you're not a day late and $1 short. You were in there with me and you got that cash and
I added to it. Your bullishness helped me get onto the Colts to start. And then as the line continued to move the right direction, I just had to add to it.
No, I loved it. And but I can't do it here. And that's just my MO. But I think I move on both first half under and full game under. And I think I do that this evening.
I mean, just last night the Broncos were, or the Colts were plus 120, 13 more cents of the line movement towards the Colts.
But of course, though, why would that? I mean, of course, this line's going to move to the Colts. They look spectacular, and the Broncos look terrible. I mean, that's
what do you got for cash flow on the Broncos? Because I see everybody aping in on the Broncos on both the money line and the spread. I got my buddy calling me. Two of my good friends, two of my very good friends, were all Bo Nix all off season, buying shares on fantasy, huge fantasy heads. 56%
of the tickets and 65% of the cash on the Colts.
Say it one more time.
56% of the tickets on Indianapolis and 65% of the cash.
And you don't have money line splits either.
No. All right, let's roll on. Next up for us, 4:05 p.m. Eastern, Carolina Panthers at Arizona Cardinals. very difficult to talk about this game when it's in between the Broncos and the Colts and the Chiefs and the Eagles. But we must. Sadly, we must. State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have a total at 44.5. It's minus 107 to the under. This open, well, the look ahead was 46.5. So then on Sunday night, this was a 45.5. It moved to 44.5. That's where we have it right now. We get to the point spread. We have the Cardinals minus 6.5. I mean, I'm looking at a 7, but it's a 7 at plus 106. But this look ahead was 5, and then 6.5 and 7 after watching, Carolina play Carolina football. So, and then the cash flow, 90% of the tickets on Arizona and 95% of the cash. It's a lot of money on the Cardinals. 58% of tickets on the over and 53% of cash on that very over. Carolina comes in off an ugly 26-10 loss to Jacksonville to start the season. It was the third time in 3 years that Bryce Young has looked terrible in an opener. 3 season openers, he's combined to throw 6 interceptions. He went 18 of 35 for 154 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He also ran 5 times for 40 yards and lost a fumble. My question was, how good is McMillan going to be? The 8th overall pick, 6'5" Arizona product, and he looked really good. Caught 5 passes for 68 yards. Chuba Hubbard, 16 carries for 57 yards, caught 3 passes for 32 yards. And there were some good signs. I know it's hard to believe in a 26-10 loss, but they went 8 of 15 on third down. Unfortunately, they went 0 of 2 in fourth down. The pass rush was invisible. Absolutely invisible. 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. J.C. Horn had an interception. Now, they held the Jaguars to 2 of 5 in the red zone. And they have injuries already. Defensive end Turk Wharton. He signed a 3-year deal with $45 million. They signed him off of the Chiefs. He has a hamstring injury. He left in the second quarter. It's a legit injury. He's going to be out for 2 to 4 weeks. Then linebacker Pat Jones left with an ankle injury. They also played without their starting left tackle, Ikem Ekwonu. He's recovering from an appendectomy. Cardinals come in off an underwhelming 2013 victory at New Orleans. They were outgained 316 to 276, but Kyler Murray was playing through sickness. He did enough to help the Cardinals win. It's important that he, played well enough to get them the win. It was a stomach virus that he was dealing with, and it affected him, but, he got the job done. And his teammates need to see him do that, and they did. Murray was 21 of 29 for 163 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran 7 times for 38 yards. Marvin Harrison Jr. caught 5 for 71, touchdown. Trey McBride caught 6 for 61. They're 2 very, very strong. They're 2 elite performers. You have Harrison out wide. You have Trey at the tight end. They're very, very good. Trey Benson ran 8 times for 69 yards. Notice we're not talking about James Conner. He ran 12 for 39. But their pass rush was nowhere to be found. They didn't put enough pressure on Rattler. They finished with 1 sack and 2 quarterback hits. They held the Saints to 5 of 14 on third down, but it's the Saints. They won the game because they held them to 1 of 4 in the red zone. Their tight end, Juwan Johnson, the Saints tight end, Juwan Johnson, had his hands on the ball, at the goal line in the dying seconds, but Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson forced the ball loose. And that was in the end zone. That it was very, very close, but there's reasons why it was close. Take it away for us here, Troy. Panthers, Cardinals.
This is just not a game that I'm fully interested in betting, and it's because I don't know what to expect after these two teams' first game. Where are the Jaguars at relative to the Panthers? Because the Panthers' offense, I don't think it was too bad. The offensive line wasn't great, particularly in pass protection. It seemed like Bryce Young was under pressure a little bit too quick, in my opinion, but they did generate some line yards. They were running the ball a little bit. And the Panthers' defense certainly wasn't as bad as it has been in prior years, especially last year, but they won't be able to stop the run. And that's not a good recipe when you're going up against the Cardinals. So this is just a weird market. I want to only look towards the Panthers because of these week 2 markets. But this is just going to be a pass for me, Jim. I really don't have confidence in either side, and I definitely need to rewatch the tape in the Cardinals-Saints game.
I want I'm interested in the Panthers. I think that they can keep this close enough, but I want to study it more. AM on the Panthers +7. He's got it projected at 4.5. Everybody else on thinking that it's just a smash and grab for the Cardinals. Londo used the word lock for the Cardinals. Says slam the Cardinals. Dougie White says all the money will be on the Cards. That's for sure. I just wish the Cards looked a little better. It would make me more excited to fade them. Like if they beat the Saints 30-10, I would definitely be on the Panthers. The Cards didn't look very good. I don't know how good they are, honestly. I don't think we've. The problem, though, is that the defense didn't look good. And now you're going to take Turk Wharton off of it for the Panthers. I think I would have wanted if this game was back in Carolina, I think that would make it a lot more appealing. Gerald Jones says Carolina gave up 200 yards on the ground last week. Yeah, but 71 yards came on one Etienne run. I'm not taking away from that. I'm not taking away from what you're saying. Yeah, I think that the Panthers can keep this one close. I'm going to be very interested to see. Look, 90% of the tickets, 95% of the cash. And I am interested in the Panthers. I'll just leave it at that. I'm interested in the Panthers. I think that Bryce Young will get better as the season goes on. And
especially if the Cardinals can't generate a pass rush.
And he's playing indoors, which does suit him. A small quarterback with speed. So yeah, Londo says there's much better underdogs than the Panthers. Says guys, come on, that's fair, Londo. But those underdogs don't have 5% of the cash on them. We know that the public loses their shirt in the NFL. We know the public is, this is the biggest public spot on the entire card is the Cardinals. So I do look for ways to fade that situation. And I'm going to do that here. I'm not going to bet this tonight. But this is Panthers or stay off, and I'm fine to stay off. Chill Will says Cards offense was slowed down because Murray was under the weather. Yeah, that's the problem again, is that I wish Arizona looked better. But everybody's fading the Panthers as if, this is the same team from last year. And I think it sucks that Wharton's hurt here, but we all think that they're going to be better than they were last year. So at 3 a.m. says you do know you'll get a 7 or 7.5. Yeah, I think it's important to be patient, and that's what I'm going to do. At this point, you're off. Is that something that could change?
Yeah, I do think I am interested in the Panthers. I want to see where this number goes, but I don't think I'm going to get much better than a 7. So it might be a mistake, and if that's the case, I'll probably just stay off. But I am interested. It's Panthers at pass for me.
And of course, if this closes at 6 or 5.5, would that be telling you that you have to bet the Panthers?
No, I honestly, I would prefer to have a 7 or 7.5 in this case. It's weird. It's a weird situation because I'm documenting this game as opening between 3.5 and 5.5 and moving through the 6. And that hasn't, to 6.5, 7, and that has not been profitable. The road teams have cashed 70% of a small sample because you don't see many of them. 7-3 ATS.
I don't think that's legitimate, though. You're talking about a look-ahead line. Unless you always do that week 2.
Well, that's what I have in my entire week in the database, right, where it actually physically opened, even if it was the look-ahead, which is rare because this is the only week we'll see that with the book I use. Yeah,
because, I don't know how helpful that is. Yeah. But if it's worked historically, then keep doing it. But in my head, because this line opened up at, after the games are played, it opened up at 6.5 with Arizona 6.5 minus 114. So basically, with Arizona right now minus 7 to plus 106, it basically has not moved, depending on how you look at it. Lots to think about there. Let's roll on to the game of the week. 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Philadelphia Eagles at the Kansas City Chiefs, Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. 89 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 9-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history. We'll use the money line here because it's basically a pick'em type environment. We have Philadelphia right now minus 115. They opened up the look ahead was plus 111. After the Eagles game, this opened up minus 102. Minus 102. After the Chiefs game, it got to minus 119, minus 121, and now we're at minus 115. When we get to the total here, and I am interested on the total. I have doubled up on this football game, but I'm also interested in the total. It's just climbing and climbing. I guess not as fast. I guess maybe I should climbing is a little much. This did look ahead was 45.5. Then this 46.5 started getting more and more juice. Looks like it's coming back. I'm surprised at that. I do still see 47s at respected chart books. When we get to the cash flow here for this one, we have 71% of the tickets on Philadelphia and 52% of the cash. Bigger bets coming in on the Chiefs. I know sharps that are on the Chiefs. 75% of tickets on the over and 58% cash on the over. I doubled up on the Philadelphia Eagles. First half, I got minus 109. Full game, I got minus 115. It was two different books. They're minus 115 at 365, but I got the minus 109 offshore. And let's start with the Eagles. The Eagles have a rest and prep advantage over the Chiefs. Now, you could say it's just one day, but the Chiefs, they woke up on Saturday in Brazil. So it's a trickier situation. It's a clear advantage for the Eagles. They defeat the Cowboys 24-20 at home on the opening Thursday night of the year. It was delayed 65 minutes because of lightning. It was a very, very strange game. They lose Jalen Carter right off the hop. I'm not sure how much emphasis to put into these statistics, especially defensively, especially their pass rush. Jalen Hurts was 19-23 for 152 yards. He also ran 14 times for 62 yards. Jane Dotson was his leading receiver. He caught 3 for 59. Goddard caught 7 for 44. And Brown and Devonta Smith were nowhere to be found. They caught 4 passes for 24 yards. Saquon Barkley ran 18 times for 16, a touchdown, caught 4 for 24. The offense always does what I need it to. They went 8 of 13 on third down. They went 3 of 3 in the red zone. The defense didn't look very good. I mean, that pass rush was very meek. No sacks, 1 quarterback hit. Again, Jalen Carter wasn't there. They allowed the Cowboys to go 7-11 on third down and 2 of 3 in the red zone. And you could say, well, they weren't putting enough pressure on Dak. And Dak had time to make decisions. And Dak is a good enough quarterback. When he has time to make decisions, he can make the right decisions. Now, Landon Dickerson, their offensive lineman, left with a back injury. He's listed as questionable for this week. It's very, very, it's a very important spot. So we need to know about Landon Dickerson. The Chiefs went 12-0 in one-score games last year, and they'd won 17 of them in a row before falling to the Chargers 27-20 in Brazil. I've watched this game now a second time, and I'm watching the Chiefs very closely. And the way I see it is pretty simple. A lot of it, especially in the game, had to do with Rashee Rice, being suspended to start the year. Xavier Worthy, colliding into Kelsey. He's got the dislocated shoulder. He's day-to-day, but I'm not sure if he's going to play.
He's not playing.
But Patrick Mahomes is incredible. He is spectacular. He is a incredible quarterback on a average, maybe below average football team. He makes them a really good football team because he's so incredible. But the players around him, they're not that good. Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, they don't concern me at all. They combined for 10 carries for 41 yards. Hollywood Brown looked great because he's got the great Patrick Mahomes. He caught 10 balls for 99 yards. The Offense was 5 of 14 on third down and 1 of 3 in the red zone. I think those are numbers that you're going to have to get used to if you're on the Chiefs, if you believe in the Chiefs. Chris Jones was nowhere to be found until he lost containment on the game-winning play or the game-finishing play. Drew Tranquil had 2 of the 3 sacks, and he played so well. But I really think that he should have saved his lecture for Chris Jones until the locker room. I love Drew Tranquil, and I lost a little bit for him, going off on Chris Jones in front of the cameras, in front of everybody. It's not good. And I have more respect for Chris Jones because he just took it. He knew he was in the wrong, and he let Tranquil berate him in front of the cameras, in front of everybody. He just let him do it. I respect that about Chris Jones. The pass rush couldn't get to Herbert, despite the Chargers playing without Rashawn Slater, who's done for the year, and Mekhi Becton was struggling with his stomach virus. He was, huffing and puffing and for half the plays.
He had the oxygen tank on.
Oh, he was a mess. And still the Chiefs couldn't get pressure. The Chargers offensive line's it's going to be very average this year at best. The defense allowed the Chargers to put up 394 yards of offense. The Chargers were 7 of 13 on third down and 2 of 4 in the red zone. So, of course, Chiefs look bad. Everyone zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. I've been getting away from the zigzag for the first time in my career over the last little bit. And here, I think that the Eagles are going to go into Kansas City and beat them comfortably from start to finish. And I bet them first half and full game. And I almost put a third unit on double result. I have the better football team. They have the better player. What does this remind you of? Ravens, Bills. But the Ravens are a team that can't win the big game. Eagles aren't. Eagles can win the big game and do win the big game. Take it away, Troy. Chiefs, Eagles.
It's crazy how many times we've seen this market. You just touched on one game where this market's very similar. Ravens, Bills. Ravens, arguably, in my opinion, should have won that game, being up 15 points with 4 minutes left, but they didn't win. Vikings, I backed them for the same reason. Maybe you could argue they shouldn't have won either. But +1.5 do not perform well, especially when the line flips, when you have a flipping event. The Chiefs' offense, I think you've already outlined it. We know what this offense is: a bunch of below-average players, maybe average on the offensive line, but now without Rice and without Worthy, it's 100% a below-average offense. You got Hollywood, Kelsey, and Juju. Those 3 guys are pretty much washed. They're at the end of their stages in their career. Mahomes is just incredible. He carries this team. He carries the offensive unit, and he gives them a hope and a will to win, a belief to win. And sometimes the belief in your abilities is more than your actual abilities, because I've been there myself. The Chiefs' defense is really where it starts to stand out of where they're regressing year over year. The run defense was graded out 25th, only allowed 3.6 yards per carry, which tells me that if you rewatch that game for the second time, there was way more holes and way more opportunities on the ground than Hampton really was able to take advantage of. They're not going to be that lucky versus Saquon. The coverage got absolutely torched. Justin Herbert looked like Superman, was able to run around the pass rush very easily, run over defenders on his way to the end zone, and one play they got called back. I'm not a believer in this Chiefs defense at all, and I think it's a complete different look from last year. There's only so much Spagnuolo could do. The Eagles' offense, we know what this is. They want to run the ball now. Jalen Hurts. From time to time, we see this type of play where he looks hesitant to throw the ball downfield, quickly resorts to his legs, or he doesn't get to his third read. Like, you could tell he's not kind of all in it sometimes, and it's rare to see him completely out of it and making mistakes. But sometimes it just doesn't seem like he's able to pick up the reads like you'd want a quarterback to, especially early in the season over the past few years. But this offensive line, Landon Dickerson, we want to see him in. Mulata is still the most savage offensive lineman in the game. They're going to be able to find holes in the running game, especially with Hurts and a 2-headed monster with Saquon in the backfield. And the defense, I think it's really hard to judge this defense because Jalen Carter is just such a wrecking ball, man. When he's creating that pressure up the middle, it just makes it makes it so much easier as a defense, especially coming off the edge, to be able to react to the quarterback, because his first move is seeing a center or a guard getting pushed back into his face. So I agree with you 100%. This line flipped. If it weren't for the Chiefs' name brand recognition in this game, the Chiefs would be catching 3 points. We've been talking about a bear market. It certainly looks like it's going to be the beginning of the bear market for this Chiefs team. Will Patrick Mahomes let it happen? Will he pull something out of his ass? He definitely could. I'm on the Eagles money line as well, and I'm going to be doubling up with you, Jim.
Yeah, I might add the third unit. Yeah, so AM, we see this differently. The Super Bowl revenge spot, public all over the Eagles. There's sharps all over the Chiefs. They're giving the Chiefs at home at a dog price, which I believe is, if you wanted the public to bet the Eagles, they would be at the dog price. I believe. I've seen so many sharps and cappers I respect on the Chiefs, and it doesn't matter. The books don't care. The bigger bets are coming in on the Chiefs at home, and the books don't care. And I've changed. Years ago, I would be on the Chiefs for sure, but I watched the game a second time, the Brazil game, and I just couldn't get past that. Do you know, Troy, what the Chiefs are to miss the playoffs at a public book? What's your guess?
-1
to miss the playoffs.
Oh, to miss the playoffs? That'd be to miss the playoffs +120.
That would be exciting, but they're between +175 and +200 to miss the playoffs. It's a real It's a real legitimate
market
possibility.
I'm very familiar with, yeah.
But it's a real legit possibility. It's going to be fun. This is going to be very.
I just doubled up, so I have the money line -115, and I have the -1 -110.
Okay, sorry. Actually, can you give me that again? You have the
money line -115 and -1 -110.
I guess that's another way of doing it instead of doing the double result. I think that's a better way of doing it, because I already have the -115 on the first half. It's fun, AM. It's fun that you're on the other side. It's part of the fun. We're not, a bunch of yes men. I know we're going to take heat for this, but the Chiefs, it's not just by a little bit. And we watch this happening. We slowly watch that. This is, to me, by far the worst team of the Mahomes era. Now, he is poetry in motion. He was absolutely spectacular. If you watch that game back, he's unbelievable. He's so far and away the best player on the field. And because of his brilliance, he kept it a one-score game. Because of his sheer brilliance. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for this game. I cannot wait for this game. Eagles, Chiefs. And I have interest in the Chiefs team total under as well. I know that this total will get up over a key number here. The public will expect points, Chiefs at home. So but we just watched it drop. I was surprised. This was, when I was looking at it at last, this move, this 6-cent move away from the over and the 5-cent move towards the under happened an hour ago. So it happened like almost 2 hours into our show. So that's taking me through. I thought for sure we'd get through the 47 and into the 47.5. And I can't wait for this football game. That is Eagles Chiefs. And I think you're right. I'm happy we talked this out, because what I can do now and what I'm going to do is, instead of the double result, why do I want the first half is not the key here. The full game is the key. So the first half at -109, the full game -115, and then I add on a -1 as well. Okay, let's roll on to our next spot on the board, the Sunday Nighter. Rock with us right here on Pub Sports Radio, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. We have the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons 0-1. 0-0, first road game of the year. Minnesota Vikings 1-0 at home. Coin says KC is 19-6-1 against the spread, last 26 as an underdog. They also won 17 straight one-score games. What do you think their record in one-score games is going to be this year? 3-5, 3-6. It's back to planet Earth for Chiefs fans. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's fucking over. U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. This total is a 44.5. Opened up at 45.5, dropped to 44.5. This was a legit 45.5 after the games too. It wasn't just a look ahead. From a point spread situation here, we have Minnesota -5 and -104. Open up -5 and -106. So really there's been no movement on the side. Let's get to the cash flow here quickly for the Sunday Nighter. We have 77% of tickets, 84% of the cash on the Atlanta Falcons, 62% of the tickets, and 60% of cash on the under. Falcons come in off a tough 23-20 home loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, ended with Young Hoku missing a 44-yard game-tying field goal badly and not available for the press afterwards. And Raheem Morris was nonplussed. They outgained the Bucs 358-260. It was very important for me because I got the Bucs to win the division, which was a public play. There's a couple public future bets. I still moved on and I'm comfortable. You can win that way as well. I believe fourth time, and they've won 4 straight division titles. Go for a fifth is a very public sentiment. But Penix was 27-42 for 298 yards, touchdown, no interceptions, while also running 6 times for 21 yards and a touchdown. Bijan Robinson led all receivers, 6 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. I think that's a bad sign. But again, it's the first game of the year, and Penix can figure out a way to get. It's not like Kyle Pitts and Drake London weren't involved. I mean, Kyle Pitts got 7 for 59, Drake London got 8 for 55. So it's not a big deal.
London hurt too.
Yeah, London hurt as well, and that is here. London leaving with a shoulder injury, which I couldn't get more information on. And we know that Darnell Mooney didn't play. He was held out. He was a game-time decision with a shoulder injury. So it's very interesting to see if London will be going today. But while Bijan Robinson was so spectacular catching the ball, I mean, this backfield struggled. Him and Algier combined to run 22 times for just 48 yards. And we have, if Drake London's hurt, Darnell Mooney may or may not play, and Jamal Agnew listed as questionable with a groin injury. So, this is a problem. They finished 6 of 15 on third down, 1 of 2 in the red zone. The pass rush was very quiet, 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits, but the secondary was very strong. They held the Bucs to just 159 yards through the air. That's not easy. And they only allowed the Bucs to have 1 red zone opportunity. That's very tough. Vikes are on a short week after playing the Monday Nighter in Chicago. This does not feel like a spot that I'd want them. I'm going to listen to Troy and see you guys in the chat. But Viking used a big second half comeback to give J.J. McCarthy a win his NFL debut. We had the script. I'm telling you, the script for live betting, you have it done and you don't care what you see unless there's an injury. It's very difficult to do that. If you don't have the script, you don't make the bet because you're concerned about what you see. Vikings plus 6.5. I mean, they win outright. But would you have wanted it if you were watching? Possibly not. The script is so crucial with our live betting, and I'm realizing that more and more. McCarthy was 13 of 20 for 143 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also ran twice for 25 yards and a touchdown. He won in his NFL debut. Everybody told us, everybody was on the Bears because a rookie quarterback is not going to win on the road in his NFL debut. And we said, well, look at his coach. He just won Coach of the Year, and he might be the best coach in the league. Now, I don't want to go that far, but he's certainly –
it's time to start taking it there. Like we're right there.
He's phenomenal, spectacular, just mind-blowingly Talented coach. Jordan Mason led the ground attack, 15 carries for 68 yards. He also caught a 7-yard pass. Aaron Jones ran just 8 times for 23 yards, but he had 3 catches for 44 yards and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson had 4 catches for 44 yards and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson, after the game, sounded like a team player. There's some wide receivers that would be upset. They're worried about their stats. He loved what he saw from McCarthy. He loves what he sees with this football team. He said all the right things. They're lucky to have him.
If you look at his response to when McCarthy ran in the touchdown, when he made a big throw, Justin Jefferson was there to support and encourage him the whole way through the struggles. He was from the bottom of the barrel to the top in the fourth quarter. Like Justin Jefferson was right there next to McCarthy. Full belief.
Yeah, I was impressed. Like I didn't know that he was had that kind of character. I was very, very impressed, and it's important for this team. They just seem to always be more than the sum of their parts, and it takes stars sometimes not putting up the numbers that one would associate with the star. So this is the part where we need Troy's football expertise, because after we finished off, Vikings were just 3 of 12 on third down, but they went 2 of 3 in the red zone. It felt like Caleb Williams was burning the Vikings blitz early with his legs, and I wasn't able to ask you about it really during the stream. And Flores decided to go away from it. And if that was the reason why there was so much less blitz, then I'm okay with that. And we would expect the blitz to come back here, especially against an offensive line that doesn't have McGrary, doesn't have Dahlman, doesn't have they're supposed to be much more susceptible. The Vikings pass rush finished with 2 sacks, both by Javon Hargrave, and 3 quarterback hits. It wasn't very good. They held the Bears to 3 of 12 on third down, but allowed them to go 2 of 2 in the red zone. Now, here are the problems. Blake Cashman left with a hamstring injury, and I still didn't get it. I don't know if anyone else got the MRI information, but it wasn't available before the show started. And Jeff Okudah is in concussion protocol. So he's got to come back. Harrison Smith didn't travel with the team because of sickness, and Christian Darrisaw still isn't ready to come back from the torn ACL last season. Wasn't active, and you could see that this defense just didn't look that good. Take it away for us, Troy. Our Sunday nighter, Falcons Vikings.
I think that this is a fascinating game to dive into and to start to look under the hood. So when I look at the Falcons, and this is a team I was really high on coming into the season, and after our future show, I started to become less bullish. And then as I started to cap the week 1 game, I started to really move off this Falcons team. But I already committed to a future. So if it cashes, it's because Penix absolutely took off. But in the first game, it looked like he was shaking off the rust. When push came to shove, he was able to put together the drives. But the massive problem, the glaring problem with this Falcons offense, there's 2 things. First of all, they couldn't run the damn ball, 2.5 yards per carry. Why couldn't they run the ball? Well, I think the most important thing when I was looking through this data was that our boy, my guy, Penix, I believe in, only had 2 attempts of his 39 attempts that were 20 yards plus down the field. That's 5% of his dropbacks. Last year, Penix attempted deep passes on 15% of dropbacks. He posted 111 passer rating, a 98 PFF grade, 8 big-time throws, and 0 turnover-worthy plays. This guy only played in like 3 or 4 games, and he was able to put up these miraculous numbers. And we didn't see any of that. Nothing stretching this team vertically. So it just allowed the Bucs to stuff the box, put more guys in the box. Tyke Smith at safety was inserted into the box almost every snap. He played safety, not even a slot cornerback anymore. And they just put him damn near in the box. And it didn't look like the Falcons were able to adjust. I'm losing faith in Raheem Morris. The offense, he just doesn't have this team clicking on cylinders. And really, I think, catering to their personnel. Because I don't see it on the offense. I don't see it on the defense. Over to the Vikings side, it's pretty much the exact opposite. Like, I believe in this coaching staff. Some people were given this is the best 3-man coaching staff between the OC, DC, and head coach. And how can I take it away? I mean, like, credit Kevin O'Connell with the quarterback sweep on 3rd and 1 that resulted in McCarthy rushing touchdown, forcing the returner out of the end zone. It just genius calls, like, trying to get his quarterback in the position where he's comfortable. And as the game went on, he became more comfortable. You saw McCarthy get acclimated into this offense. The first 2.5 quarters, the play clock was basically at 1 on every snap. The short passing game looked terrible. He was inaccurate, and he was making bad decisions. But without Darrisaw, the offensive line looked pretty damn good. And I believe when fully healthy, this is going to be a better offense than we've seen last year. Even though I still have my doubts about J.J. McCarthy, how can I doubt the leadership and just the respect he got, not only from the all-stars on his team, but like just watching him give the speech in the locker room afterwards, you could tell that he's the guy. The team believes in him. He's obviously putting in effort around the clock, and people notice that. I think that's the type of kid he is. The Vikings defense is going to be tough for the Falcons to adjust to with all the blitzing and all the different pieces. I don't know if the Falcons are going to have a scheme that's ready to prepare for this Vikings defense. I'm a little concerned about the personnel, some of the injuries, but Penix, starting to look at the blitz, he was elite versus the blitz, both last season in his few starts and in college. He could also deliver from the pocket, unlike Caleb Williams, who has to rely on his legs. So the Falcons must stretch the ball downfield if they want to have a chance in this game. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do that, to be honest. Really tough game. I want the Vikings. I haven't moved yet. Maybe this is a money line parlay piece. I have a lot of time to think on it, watch where this line goes, and I'll just be watching. I'm definitely going to have action in this game, and I'm leaning towards the Vikings.
Wager Detective saying, looks over 45.5 here. You cannot bet the over until you know that Drake London is in the lineup or that Darnell Mooney is. I guess, if you don't have London and Mooney's in, what you can't have happen is London, Mooney, and Agnew all out. Then you're screwed. The only way they'll move the ball is, what they did last week out of the backfield with Bijan Robinson, and then Kyle Pitts will be doubled on every spot. It'll be horrible. So, we'll have to find that out. It's crucial. So if that's the case, it'll be very easy. If those guys are out, it'll be very easy. But I don't, again, we don't want to dive too much into it. Yes, Darnell Mooney was held out. He was a game time decision. He was held out last week. So that's why I didn't catch anything. That's why if London's gone too, it's a problem.
And Darnell Mooney was a quality receiver last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was excellent. He shocked us. I mean, what did he end up with? 950 yards. You almost had 1,000-yard season, didn't you?
1,000 yards, yeah.
And the Vikings are on a short week, but they're at home where they're going to be very dangerous. And then we need to know about Cashman. We need to know about Okudah. This game has injury issues that we need to know about. But the number that comes out right away seems like it's too many points for Atlanta. So why would the books be doing that? It's because Atlanta has some real issues. Atlanta has 77% of the tickets and 84% of the cash because that's too big of a number, especially what we just saw from J.J. McCarthy. Why would the books be giving that big of a number? Something's up either with the wide receiving core for the Falcons not being healthy, and it's possible that they get fucking destroyed and the public loses their shirt. So it's very important here.
Cashman's out for a couple of weeks.
He's out for a couple of weeks. Oh, expected to miss several weeks. Thank you, Susie. Well, that's because the MRI wasn't out. Thank you, Susie. I mean, that's an issue. How big of an issue is that, Troy?
It's hard to tell because, like you say, it's more than the sum of the parts. I feel that way with the Vikings defense. I mean, it's almost like when Cashman went out of the defense got stronger. I mean, that just is the one example with the 30 snaps or 20 snaps that the sub, his backup took. But
is that Brian Flores changing the script from, we can't blitz because the only way Caleb Williams can beat us is with his legs. And if we bring everybody to Adam, he's making these quick decisions and screwing us over. Is that Flores' ability to change the game plan?
That's 100% true. And I don't even think he came in with a plan to blitz Caleb Williams. He only had 2 blitzes in the first half. I'm not sure he blitzed again after. It was insane.
And just my 2 cents, loving the Vikings to anchor his 3-piece. Let's roll on it to our Monday night doubleheader. Ooh-wee. Make sure you've gone to the liquor store because it's going to be a long one here. Monday night, Pub Sports Radio. We start 7 p.m. Eastern. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Houston Texans. We're at Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. At least it starts at 7. At least it starts nice and early. Oh, God, I can't wait for Monday. This line right now is Houston -2.5, -111. This opened up at -2. The look ahead was -2, I should say. And then when the games were over, it was a -2 that was very juiced and quickly became a 2.5. From a total standpoint here, we have a 42.5. It's -108 to the under. The look ahead was 46.5, which is nuts. But you could have got a 44.5 heavily juiced or 44 when the games were over. Now this went down to 41.5, which is a huge move until some books or some gamblers were like, well, that's too low. And we've had some buyback now to 42.5, up a point. When we get to the cash flow here, we have 55% of the tickets and 56% of the cash on the Buccaneers. We have 94% of tickets and 93% of cash on the under. The Rams were a huge part of that under. I mean, it wasn't just the Texans playing, and we cashed on it, but this is a monstrous move towards it. Buccaneers coming off a 23-20 victory at Atlanta to start the season. They were outgained 358-260 in the victory. It was pretty shocking to watch the Buccaneers offense. Now I was on the under, and you pushed it hard, and I was very thankful to be on it. We say that we are lucky that Young Oku missed that field goal, and we were right. But none of that would have happened if the convert wasn't just missed. We would have cashed it anyways. We were unlucky the convert missed, and then lucky. I mean, it just
true. And that's out. I mean, it's
even. They were outgained 358-260, which was a shock, though. Baker Mayfield, 17-32 for 167 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And here is the problem. He also led the Bucs in rushing. What the hell happened to Bucky? He led the Bucs with 5 carries for 39 yards. Bucky ran 14 times for 37 yards. And Egbuka was a beast. 4 catches for 67 yards, 2 touchdowns in his first game. Leads all the receivers. They were 7-14 on third down, but only had 1 opportunity in the red zone, which they converted. A Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that's only in the red zone once? Did that happen one time all year last year? So maybe they need to get the rust off. Maybe we shouldn't put too much into it, but the pass rush had trouble getting to Penix. This is a weak Atlanta. It's supposed to be a really weak offensive line. And the Bucs had real trouble getting there. 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits. They did hold the Falcons to 6-15 on third down and 1 of 2 in the red zone. They scored a touchdown to take the lead, and then McLaughlin missed the extra point. Then Young Hoku missed the 44-yard field goal. Cornerback Benjamin Morrison hamstring was inactive. The Texans coming off an ugly 14-9 loss at the Rams. C.J. Stroud was 19-27 for 188 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. He also ran 5 times for 32 yards. 8 receivers caught passes. So 8 receivers caught passes. Well, that's good, but only 1 caught for more than 32 yards that Jaden Higgins caught on 2 catches. I thought Nick Chubb filled in admirably for Joe Mixon. They asked straight up, they're like, is Joe Mixon coming back this year? And there was no answer. He might not be coming back. The Texans were just 2 of 9 on third down, only had 1 failed attempt in the red zone. The defense bent but didn't break. They allowed 296 total yards, but they only allowed 14 points. 7-13 on third down. The pass rush was strong as expected. 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. Will Anderson Jr. had 1 sack and 3 tackles for a loss. Henry Toe had 2 massive hits. One on Puka Nacua, the other on Devontae Adams. Azeez Al-Shaair forced a fumble by tight end Colby Parkinson on a catch at the Houston 12 with 4:09 left. That almost gave the Texans the win. Texans guard Ed Ingram was a late scratch with an abdominal injury. And here is the problem. Here is the problem where I'd already be on the Texans, is that their center, Jake Andrews, injured his ankle in the second half. High ankle sprain. Now, the timetable is undetermined at this point, unless anybody else has more information. If the timetable is undetermined, it's possible that Jake Andrews might be able to play. I need Jake Andrews at center. I need him at center. I want the Texans. Take it away, Troy. Bucs, Texans.
Yeah, I'm on the Texans. I really like this spot for them. This is one of those markets where I see a lot of value in the money line. So looking at this -2.5 to -3 range, I talked about it earlier. There's a massive range of money line prices between -121 and -180. sitting here in the minus, I want to see this closer to minus 150. It's starting to tick back at penny. I do think this closes around the minus 150 range, and that'll be just perfect, just where I want it to be for my sweet spot in this market. The Bucks are not the Bucks we've seen in the past few years. I think there's just been too much turnover in the coaching staff, too high of expectations for this Bucks offense for them to be able to achieve that. Wirfs is going to help on the offensive line, but Baker posted 27th PFF grade in the passing category, the least amount of passing yards over the last 2 seasons. The offense did not look ready at all, and it's probably likely due to such a drastic change of play calling, and they should progressively get better in theory as the season goes on. But the Bucs defense, to your point, I mean, outside of stopping the run, I don't think what they did was very impressive. The secondary was supposed to be their strong suit, at least in my head, and they actually showed up. But there's a lot of injuries that the Falcons were dealing with. So how good did they really perform? The defensive line was not good. Outside of stopping the run, they were not good. We talked about their pass rush. I think it's extremely weak. The Texans, I mean, the defense is probably, this is the best pass rush on this defense in the NFL. Alshire is just irrefutably just an absolute dog at middle linebacker. I don't see this Bucs offense having much success versus Texans defense. I think the Texans offense underperformed, but it's expected against a highly touted Rams defensive line, but a highly touted Rams defense. This Rams defense has been overperforming for years, and I think that this is another year where it's going to be hard to reach those expectations, but I do think there's room for growth for that Rams team. This is definitely not the Rams defense they're going to be facing. And if you give C.J. Stroud time in the pocket, he's proven he can pick you apart. In week 1, his ADOT was 6.7 yards. Last year, his ADOT was 8.2 yards. And in 2023, his ADOT was 9.2 yards. This is a key metric for a guy like Stroud who wants to sling it down the field. Just like I was complaining about Penix, I feel the same way about Stroud and the Texans. I want to see him drive that ball downfield, be it for good or whatever. Even if it doesn't turn out, even if you lose a play, you stretch that defense. It changes the dynamic and the defense you're attacking because it keeps them on their heels a little bit more, half a second more. So I believe that this Texans team is backable in this spot, especially at the money line price at minus 135 that you get on DK. I still think you can get it right now. I got the Texans money line minus 135. I love the position.
I like it too, and I think I can get past my concern about Jake Andrews. Jarrett Patterson made 7 starts in 2023, made 15 starts in 2024. Now, there's a reason why he was not the starter this year, but I don't mind that. We watched Daniel Jones, get ditched and, completely torn apart in the media by everybody. Shut his mouth, be a good teammate, play football, and be rewarded as the starting quarterback for the Colts. So I think that Jared Patterson, he's still on the team, right? If they didn't like him so much when they brought in Andrews, they would have cut him or something. So if it is Jared Patterson, I guess he's got it. You're actually pretty fortunate that the backup center was the starting center last year. So that's a pretty lucky thing that takes a little bit of the Andrews thing away. I agree. I agree. I think this is what we talk about nonstop, a buy low spot on the Texans. AM says, are we not concerned about the Texans offense? Sure. Sure, we're concerned. But I was astonished that the pass rush for the Bucs couldn't get through this Falcons offensive line that we know is a real problem. And that's why when Caleb McGregor got hurt, I mean, isn't the team you would fear the most for the Falcons offensive line the Minnesota Vikings, a team that will just, have waves of blitzing that we would generally see here? Yes, there's every right to be concerned, but
so flip the question. Are you concerned about the Bucs offense after what they did in week 1, and that was against the Falcons defense? Now they're going to probably the best defense in the NFL.
This secondary is insanely good. It comes down to this. Your model or someone's model could easily spit out that the Buccaneers have value here. I wouldn't say you're wrong or anything like that. What I'm saying is this is the opportunity that I so desire. A buy low spot on a team that I expect to come home and play a good football game. And the Bucs had problems in Atlanta.
This is a Texan spot, man.
I'm going to join you. I'm going to get in on that. I just want to touch on this line movement one more time, and then we'll move on to our final game on today's show. I just want to see this line movement one more time. Is this something we are moving as we speak? Yeah. It's come back 5 cents, but it's not going to get to 3. I doubt it gets to the 2. I'm going to move on the Texans tonight and have that locked in. And that's why I'm starting to like the Vikings in that spot on Sunday night when that line is screaming for Falcons money at that. It's too big of a number after what we just saw from McCarthy. Why is it such a big number? I'm going to be curious to watch what it does, and then what I expect to do.
Because part of McCarthy's issues were clearly getting the play calling. He was in the road environment. Now he's going to be nice and comfy in that stadium where he's
confident and got the win.
Yeah, very extremely confident now. Come on.
I'm going to have to see where that goes, because the Vikings then would be a double result bet, so that I could, because Penix is more than capable of keeping you close and getting you involved late, and here I really like the Texans here. Nutflush says, what is the team total under number on the Bucs? I will pull that out here, Nutflush, my man, but let's get it. And Sharon is on Tampa Bay. I get it. I get it. I get it. Take it to the window and we'll see how it bangs out. Let's talk about our final spot on tonight's show. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us at Pub Sports Radio. Bankroll Blitz Season 3, Week 2. The Los Angeles Chargers at the Las Vegas Raiders. We're at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. The more I watch Harbaugh coach, Jim, I start liking him more and more and more. There were some things that he did in the game that I really respect, and things they did after the game, and we'll go into them. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have Las Vegas at basically a 3. I'm looking at it was a 3. The look ahead was a 3, and then it became a 3.5. When it first was a 3.5 after the games had played, it was at a pick 'em. Now, if you want the Chargers minus 3.5, it's plus 106. So it's basically a 3 here. And then when we get to the total, we have a total of 47. It's minus 113 to the under. The look ahead was 44.5. That's changed drastically. When the Sunday games were over, this was a 47. So that's what or a very juiced 46.5. My dude says he loves the Chargers here a lot. AM is on the Raiders plus 3.5. So, and Sean says, why are you not on KC then if you're on Houston? I could answer that for sure, Sean. I don't think it's a buy low spot on Kansas City. That's my whole thing. I think that time for the Kansas Chiefs dominance is over, and everything is going to regress back to the mean, and forget 17 one-score wins in a row. They're going to be under 500 in one-score games, and Mahomes is going to have to be brilliant for them to make the playoffs. MVP quality season for them to make the playoffs, what I believe. Shout out to Mr. Sean Higgs in the house. Higgsy on the Raiders plus 3.5. Chargers come in on a high. Did we talk about the cash flow? 85% of the tickets, 86% of the cash on the Superchargers, 80% tickets on the over, and 82% cash on the over. So the Chargers are on a high. They beat the Chiefs for the first time since September 26, 2021, snapping a 7-game losing streak against Kansas City. If you ask Herbert, he said it's just another game. If you ask Jim Harbaugh, he said, this day, September 5th, will go down in history and all that stuff. And that's just the kind of guy Harbaugh is. And there's nothing wrong with either way, how they handled it. Herbert became just the third quarterback in Chargers history with 300 yards and 3 TDs in the season opener. 25 of 34 for 318 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also ran 7 times for 32 yards. Quentin Johnston is becoming the player that they thought they were drafting. I think he went 21st overall, 23rd overall. I think it was 20, whatever it was. This is the player they thought they were getting. He's matured. He's making catches. 5 catches for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ladd McConkey is a junkyard dog. Caught 6 passes for 74 yards. He's a special talent. And then Keenan Allen. I did not have high expectations for him. I really didn't. And he was incredible with those short passes. He brings leadership. He brings intangibles. I was wrong. He is a huge get and a huge asset, a player who wants to be there. And I was extremely impressed. He caught 7 passes for 68 yards and touchdown. Omarion Hampton ran 15 times for 48 yards, and that was as an egregious mistake as I've seen in a long time. I'm shocked that he didn't know what the hell was going on around him. It didn't go out down in bounds. And when you asked Jim Harbaugh, he said you put all the blame on the coaching staff for not letting him know what the situation was. And that's the kind of guy Jim is. He puts always the blame on him and lets his players just, be players and focus on everything on the field and not what people are saying. Chargers were 7 of 13 on third down, 2 of 4 in the red zone. The defense handled the Chiefs pretty easily. Held the Chiefs to 5 of 14 on third down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. Pass rush finished with 2 sacks and 8 quarterback hits, and they did that without Denzel Perryman. He didn't return after the ankle injury in the third quarter, and he's week to week with a high ankle sprain. So there's going to be no Perryman. Of course, there's no Rashawn Slater, but Mekhi Becton will be healthy again. The Raiders coming off a 2013 road victory at New England in Pete Carroll's first game as head coach and Geno Smith's first game as the Raiders quarterback. Raiders put up 389 yards of offense. Geno Smith, 24-34 for 362 yards, touchdown and a pick. Smith had 9 pass plays that went for 20 or more yards. That's tied for the most of his entire career. It was the most 20 or more pass plays, 20 yards or more pass plays in a single game by Raiders quarterback since 1991. Brock Bowers caught 5 passes for 103 yards before leaving in the fourth quarter with a knee injury. This is a big part of this. Now, he downplayed the knee issue. But I think you guys, if you're already on the Chargers, if you're already on the Raiders, you've probably looked into it and feel comfortable with what he said. But I would want him to practice in full on Thursday or Friday before I moved, on the Raiders. Jacoby Myers was a beast, 8 catches for 97 yards. Ashton Genty was nowhere to be found, but that was a tough first game in the NFL. But he ran 19 times, 38 yards, touchdown, 5 of 13 on third down, cashed their only red zone opportunity. Not good to only have 1 red zone opportunity. Defense held the Patriots to 4 of 14 on third down, 1 of 3 on the red zone. The pass rush was really strong. You have a Max Crosby who's healthy and a Malcolm Kuntz who's healthy. Isaiah pulled him out. He had the interception as an undrafted player. But Landon Roberts, their linebacker, left with a left elbow injury. It was a collision late in the first quarter. He's listed as questionable. He's a very important piece. Troy Torrence, take it away for us. Chargers, Raiders in Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, Nevada.
This is another game I'm actually pretty fond of. Home dogs that open +3, +3.5, and close +3, +3.5. The road teams are 65% ATS, 74% on the money line, and massive trends to the over in this price range. That even gets better to the over if you add to the fact that this total is greater than 44. It improves the ATS for the road team, improves the money line for the road team, and on prime time, 4-1 ATS straight up and 2-2 on the total. I'm immediately looking towards the Chargers. I see a very strong market, a market that's very applicable to this spot that we're looking at today. Even when teams just open and close at +3, because I think that's likely where this ends up. The road team just open and close at +3. Road team is 10-5 ATS, 13-4 to the under in that sample. So that's interesting because that goes against the over trends that I was just talking about. I like this side in this situation because all signs in this market environment point to the Chargers being the right side, the road favorite. The Raiders offense, trust me, I was impressed by it. This offensive line, which was supposed to be their strong suit, didn't grade out very well. It makes me want to go back and watch the tape because their pass block graded out 26th, the run block graded out 18th. Geno Smith, however, graded out 7th. 2 turnover-worthy plays. Both of them should have been picked. Only one was. But it was very good driving the ball downfield. Just incredibly good driving the ball downfield. Like you said, was great. 10-plus yards down the field. Was actually he had a pretty some bad numbers with his. That seems counterintuitive as well. There's some weird things going on with this Raiders team. Definitely want to go back and explore the tape a little bit, rewatch the game. And the Raiders defense, I think it's exactly kind of what we expected coming into the week. Terrible on the front and in the secondary. Quality linebacker play certainly helped. Outside of Crosby, the D-line graded out awfully, 53, 49, and 63 with their PFF grades. And I think we've seen that come to fruition. The Patriots offense wasn't able to take advantage of that. I think the Chargers offense certainly will be, because I think Justin Herbert was the most impressive quarterback performance we've seen in week 1. Just the ability to throw the ball sideline to sideline, inside or outside of the numbers, not scared to use his legs, not scared to lower his shoulder and run defensive backs over. And he has weapons all over the field, especially if this young blood that was drafted in the first round 2 years ago, Johnston, could step up. The offensive line without Slater was a concern. Pass block, 18th, run block, 8th. No production from the running back position. It's definitely a concern. But when you got Justin Herbert passing the ball, and a healthy Justin Herbert, I think he's probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The Chargers defense, very well coached, confident, disciplined. The D-line underperformed. And I think Mahomes was part of that. The standout player to me from the Chargers defense was Henley. Line him up in the box. Line him up on the slot. Put him in a 2-point stance. Let him rush the passer. Just the range this guy has, Jimmy.
Oh, my dad was going off. He was just nonstop. All he talked about was him all game long, pointed him out. Best player on the defense, best nonstop. Every play.
Nonstop, around every pile. Just hustle through and through. I love that kid, man. He was awesome to watch. I think that, very close matchup based on PFF rankings after 1 week, but I was much more impressed with the Chargers' performance over Kansas City than I was Las Vegas over the New England Patriots, who are still trying to figure things out. The Raiders beat a Patriots team, and now it seems like the public is loving them some Raiders ATS. I think that they took advantage of a second-year quarterback, a complete overhaul in their coaching staff, missing their best defensive asset, Christian Gonzalez. So I figured out what I'm going to do with the Packers. I'm going to do something that a lot of people would deem as stupid. But I think based on the prices we're getting offered, I think both of these are good plays. So I have a money line parlay. I have 2 of them, and I'm tying the Packers in with both. I got the Packers and the Chargers money line parlay plus 135, and I have the Packers Vikings money line parlay. Sorry, the Packers Chargers is plus 145. The Vikings Packers is plus 135. I'm taking all the favorites. I'm taking all the favorites on the prime time. This is correct. And if you look back to when you have doubleheaders too, go look at how the favorites did in those doubleheader primetime games. Absolute blowouts and covers. So if I could, I think I'm going to get out ahead of the market I'm going to get out ahead with the Packers victory, even if they don't cover. I think the Packers are going to win that game. Still considering betting it straight because I want instant gratification. But if we have that, then I have 2 Monday night bets open. I need one to cash plus, with plus money, and one to show profit, and I think both hit. So
I like the Chargers too. I mean, is there a concern about how public they are, or you're just saying that in these situations, the public wins?
The public on prime time have won more times than not.
85 and 86 is a pretty big number.
And the road public teams always perform better in the NFL. The road public favorites perform better than the big home public favorites.
I mean, we have Higsy and AM on the Raiders plus 3.5. That seems like the sharp play, the 3.5. I wonder, if either of them would make that move at 3. I'm curious. I don't know if they would.
The bigger bets on the spread with the home team that opens 3 and closes 3 or 3.5, 7 and 12, 37% ATS.
I'm interested in backing the Chargers. I'm also this year not going to be as afraid of being on the public side. You know, I'm going to try not to. And yeah, AM says, he says yes, he has a Raiders plus 2.5. Okay. Jared TG says, I think it's a mistake to get caught up in public sharp. I tell you, Jared TG, I would not be sitting here. I wouldn't have my family with me anymore. All of it is because I've been very caught up in public sharp. My ROI is completely changed. I imagine that you guys have all noticed it. So I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's saved my life. But, there's different routes to the bag as long as you're getting it. Because I am now consistently more consistent than I ever have in my whole entire career because I'm very focused on it. But again, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that this is what I'm doing and it's working. That is our show for today. Thank you guys for rocking with us. Let's review all action here on NFL Bankroll Blitz Week 2. We're coming off a nice Week 1. Troy went 15-10 plus 4.05 units. I went 14-8 plus 4.56 units, but I was 10-11 down 2 units in the preseason. My third full preseason capping it and my first losing preseason. And I know what happened, and I won't get into it right now. And I've been thinking about it. Let's roll into action here. The Packers money line is a situation that Troy has used in a parlay piece. I am interested in this under, and I need the market to marinate. But we'll be live for it on Thursday night right here on Pub Sports Radio. Troy and I are going heads up for our first spot of the year, and I haven't moved on it yet. Troy's on the Jags plus 3.5. I am going to be on the Bengals -3, and I may bet that this evening. And I'm interested in the over as well in Jacksonville, Cincinnati. Then I'm going to look at both the Giants and the over, but that Giants-Cowboys game is a concern for me. Chang asked if we could talk a survivor pick before the end of the show. Chang, I would like to sit with this all and have it for tomorrow on Betting with the Bag. I just want to really sit with it. I feel if I don't focus and study on something, I really don't. It's not responsible to share it. Bears Lions. I am off. My first spot is a triple up. First half under, full game under, Rams double result. I got 21 and 42. Troy got the under 42.5 live here with us. That's Rams, Titans. Then Patriots, Dolphins, I'm off. I am interested in the Saints, but I want to know what's going on with Purdy, and I'm interested in the under. Maybe that should be moved on now, but I don't want to make these bets until I know what the hell's going on with Purdy. And if you think that he's not going to be, and I can understand moving on it early. Troy's on the Jets +7. He'll go over his action, but I do find it appealing. And I am interested in the under in Bills Jets, but obviously that I got burnt quickly on the first half under in the Bills Ravens. I want the Seahawks against the Steelers, and I want the under.
I got to make a note on that one.
And I don't think I'm going to bet that tonight, though. I kind of want to sit with that for longer. I am interested in the Browns team total over, but again, I'm going to sit with that as well. But now we see the line moving to the Browns, and then the first half under and full game under in Broncos Colts. I'm leaving the side alone in that one. I have interest in the Panthers. I want to study that longer. Again, all my action will be tweeted out and I'll pin it like I usually do. I have 5 bets out right now, but I'm going to move on some more tonight. Philly first half and full game. There it is. And I'll decide if I want the third unit on like a -1 or something like that. Then I like the Vikings. I like the Vikings double result. I think I'm going to focus on that. And then I'm going to be on the Texans. I think it's a great buy low opportunity. And if I lose that bet, I'm comfortable losing that bet in this situation. I really question some of what I saw with the Buccaneers. You don't want to get too caught up in game one, but the Buccaneers played the Falcons, who I don't think will make the playoffs. The Texans played the Rams, who I think can compete for the Super Bowl. And no one gave the Eagles a tougher match than the Rams. And then the Chargers -3 is a spot I want to sit with. If I'm going to be on the public side, I need to have conviction and I need to explain certain things, and that's going to take me a little bit of time. I had 22 bets in week one. We had months to prepare that. I don't think I'll have 22 bets on another week this year in the NFL, but if it happens, it happens, and I'll go with it. You take what the league gives you. Troy Torrence, my man, your action.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be hitting that 20 bet mark probably most weeks. Right now I have 12 bets open. I got the Jags +3.5 -115, the Jets +7 -115. I got the Bears +6 -110, Colts Rams teaser, Colts +8.5, Rams +0.5, Colts money line, Colts +2.5, triple up. No one's going to love it. I don't think there's a lot of sharps that are going to be on that. I'm going to absolutely love being on the Colts, and I think I'm going to cash pretty easily in that game. Eagles money line, Eagles -1, another game I'm very confident in. That's why I got 2 bets down. The Texans money line -135. Love that -135. And I'm interested in maybe getting a little bit more Texans exposure. I actually like all the favorites pretty much for the primetime games because I got the Vikings Packers money line. I got the Chargers Packers money line. And the last bet that I added during the show was the Titans Rams under 42.5. So 12 bets and 3 potentials looking towards the Seahawks, the Giants, and the Panthers.
It's an interesting angle. Depending on, how much I want to invest, because the Vikings money line, tying it with the Texans and then tying it with the Chargers. If you succeed on Sunday night, you're going to sit back and have a real profitable situation. I'm not usually into that, but this time it might work. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us. Truly, thank you guys. And thank you to our producer, Jose Bouquet, behind the scenes, working nonstop all day for the channel, the backbone of Pub Sports Radio. Thank you to all the cappers in the chat. Lou Chase Fox in the house. AM, Dougie Wise, Susie Easton, Gerald Jones, Nut Flush Allen. Just my 2 cents. My dude, Jared TG, AOD, Gorky, the Gorkle. Thank you guys, all of you, for rocking with us. It means a ton. Truly, truly means a ton. Natividad Rodriguez says on the over for Primetime Monday, both games, those Primetime Mondays have been going over. I get it. Dougie Wise, Rance, Sean Pulliam, Mr. Sean Higgs. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us. We have nothing without you. Your support means so much to us. Donut Silks, Big Zoe, thank you. Troy Torrance, thank you. It was a monster week one. The more success that there is, the more I want to work, the harder I want to work, the more I don't want to ever leave it alone. I want every rock, every single part of a game searched. And I love doing this with you, man. Respect. Troy Torrance, my man, put a bow on our proceedings and let's roll into the future, man.
Week one was good. I think week 2 is going to be great. I think we're going to have the biggest season we've ever had on Bankroll Blitz. I firmly believe that. I think we continue to grow, working together, and that includes everybody in the chat. I think everyone here is I value massively. Can't put into context how much this channel has changed my life, and I'm very appreciative of you, Jimmy, everyone at Pub Sports Radio, Jose in the background putting in work, and everybody in the chat. A bunch of dogs in here. That's why I'm part of the Pub Sports Radio community. And that's why we're going to get that cash this week. So go out there right now and throughout the week and leche los bookmakers.